This is Let Us Interrupt You, episode 84, here on Tuesday, October 4th, 2022. By the time this is recorded and uploaded, it'll be available quickly as possible to anybody out there who follows me on Facebook. Of course, as usual, you can follow me on Snapchat at JAlvo Sports at 123. Bleacher Report, JAlvo Love Sports on Bleacher Report. TikTok's just Joe Alvo. Facebook's Joseph Alvo. And Instagram is Joe Alvo Boston Sports, which is really the actual feed of my email, really, per se here. Before I get going here, let me just do this. It's a little better lighting in here. A lot of good games over the weekend for the NFL, including last night for the Rams and 49ers. To let you all know, I did not have a losing week in winning games. I think I ended up going, believe it was 10-6, I believe, if I'm not mistaken here, in my picks this weekend. It took me 4 weeks to actually get to a winning record, but I finally did get it. Tom Brady, the old gunslinger, tried to go out there and just do as much as he can, knowing that the Bucs defense struggled in this game, knowing the two costly turnovers that led to touchdown drives for the Kansas City Chiefs. The Chiefs, however, got the win. Geno Smith battled Jared Goff, and Jared Goff lost. I mean, I'm just, everything about this season so far has left me questioning a lot of things. Should I have gone with Seattle over Detroit? Should I trust Geno Smith more than should I trust Jared Goff? Bailey Zappe came in relief for Brian Hoyer. He got concussed. It's looking like now that Brian Hoyer will probably be out because Tua has been ruled out for this weekend against the Jets. The Dolphins played on Thursday night. I already recapped that game. I already recapped the London game because I was able to do the podcast 2 days ago, actually, instead of doing it Saturday because I was at a party. So I really couldn't. And I came home a little tipsy. Didn't think it was a good idea to do the show tipsy. But anyway, I was able to do it for you Sunday. That was, I think I just covered most of the college football games as well. Covered a little bit of basketball news this week that happened with Blake Griffin being signed by the Celtics. He got interviewed yesterday. Was trying to be able to pull up the clip to show some audio from that of what he said, but I didn't want to run into YouTube copyright infringement issues with YouTube. It seems like now they're leaving me alone now at this point anyway, so, I mean, who knows? Anyway, there were a lot of good games on over the weekend. Not really games of the year type feel in games, although you could argue now Detroit and Seattle might take the pick here because they had a great duel in that game. And Geno Smith, though, I got to be honest, may have been helped by Pete Carroll. He may have revived his whole career. You could argue now that, if Russell Wilson got worse in his time with Denver so far, as really, I mean, and that's the reality right now is that he's not doing great for Denver, although he had a pretty good game against the Raiders defense. I mean, not great. He had pretty good numbers. He had 240 yards out of it, though. But in the end, though, the Raiders got their first win of the year with Josh McDaniels. Josh McDaniels' first win in 12 years. So go figure. Let's see. What else happened here over the weekend here right now that was interesting? The Titans got their win over the Indianapolis Colts. Not sure what the Colts are going to do from there because Matt Ryan did throw for 350-plus yards. Yeah, he did throw a pick in there, and he did throw he had a couple of fumbles. There were a lot of turnovers in that Colt game. And late in the end there, when Franklin wanted to go for a 51-yard field goal, I had a lot of questions about that call. A lot of people say he should get fired for that call, because of that call. I look at it like this. They're 1-2-1. It's way too early to say right now whether or not this team should fire him or not. And it was Shaq Leonard's first game back, and the defense just, they look good for the most part. It was really the running game and Derrick Henry doing most of the work. I mean, there's not really much else to tell there in that game other than the fact right now that Derrick Henry got his first 100-yard rush game this season and 147 yards total from scrimmage when you add in the 33 receiving yards. Just overall, the games were good. I'm going to highlight them one by one here, and I'm just going to wrap up the show here with that because I'm going to get a little stories. And before I get into all the stories over the weekend, Antonio Brown needs to be talked about first. I'm going to do quickly on him. Apparently he exposed his butt at some hotel as he German suplexed a girl in the pool, I guess, or she was already in the pool. They were roughhousing. all I got to say about Antonio Brown right now here is that the guy's got some twisted, messed up issues. Uh, just the fact right now that he's pulling his crap at this point and just doesn't care. I think he knows he's never going to be coming back to the NFL, and he's making sure permanently that he never does. I mean, he's making sure that he's still a first ballot Hall of Fame conversation starter or debate this whole thing just for his name to get recognition. But as far as his playing days goes, it's all over. In reality, he even made it worse when he called out Tom Brady again. And I don't know if he may have photoshopped. He definitely did Photoshop. There's no question about it. He photoshopped himself hugging Giselle as Giselle was kissing him and stuff like that. And he put on his Twitter saying, put that bleep on there. Put that bleep on. And put that shit on there. But realistically, I'm just going to put this out there, Antonio Brown. I'm going to say this in your perspective. This man let you into his house. Let you stay in the garage in his time when you were with New England and when you were with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I don't know why you're calling this guy out. It's not his fault that you got cut, that you were dumb enough to literally almost cost him the game, really, if we're going to really be honest with ourselves right now, by streaking onto the field and almost having security stop the game to tackle your ass down and get yourself arrested. It really isn't his fault. And yet you go out of your way to let this crap happen. It's on you. Okay? I'm sorry to say right now, but it's on you. You made your own bed with this bull crap right now. The rest is up to you. I mean, if you want to, you know, I'm just getting a text message now from my mom right now. She's telling me to go next to the front bushes and grab the washing machine soap. It spilled all over my back seat. Make sure you do it when you get up. So apparently, the soap spilled in the back seat. I don't know how it could have spilled last night, but apparently it spilled all over the back seat. I don't know how it could have leaked. Anyway, I'll do that in a little bit to help my mom out. It's been a wild week for both of us, really. And apparently, the person who was watching my grandmother, who, by the way, is having some dementia issues, and I don't know. I don't know what the story is now at this point. I don't know if I'm going to be staying there tonight. I don't know. Should we stay in there tonight? I don't know. You know, so I don't know why nobody bothered to tell us that my cousin bothered to tell us that, hey, she's leaving for Delaware. I couldn't tell you. Our family's a little messed up. That's all that you need to know there. What was I on again? Oh yeah, sorry. So Antonio Brown. I mean, you're hurting your legacy. And really, the greatest quarterback of all time almost saved your legacy at this point. If you haven't already tainted it and ruined it. Now you do it here. And realistically, Bruce Arians wanted you gone more than Tom Brady wanted you gone. So really, if there's one person you have to go after here in this case, it's Bruce Arians. It's a Tampa Bay organization. It's really Brian Leftwich. Leftwich who tried to get into you and try to say, hey, get your shit together. And really, you just told him to go screw. And you told Bruce to go screw. And I think realistically, if Antonio Brown's injury was that serious in that moment, he would never came back the rest of the year with that ankle injury. He would have sat out the whole year. He would have been in a walking boot or crutches. He wanted to play. And I think what's amazing about this whole thing, too, is that at the same time, he was obsessed about getting his contract catch, his bonus with one of the catches he would have had in the game. I don't know what to tell you. You spent the entire sequence on that drive where Brady had the ball of you losing your crap. So, I mean, I don't know what to tell you there, man. But you're not helping yourself by, doing that to Brady, by knowing the guy's got marital problems, knowing the guy right now is going through somewhat of divorce or separation situation, or whatever the case may be with the Brady bunch. I couldn't tell you what's going on with the Brady bunch and brunch. But in reality, Brady's got the kids. There's no question about that. For a person right now who's trying to fight for their marriage, saying that they've grown apart and there's no fixing this, she doesn't want to fix it. To me, that's what it sounds like to me. And now at this point, this stuff comes out. It's going to infuriate Tom Brady more than infuriate Giselle, because I don't think Giselle really cares anymore. I think she's been done with this guy now for a while. I think the fact that she wanted to retire back in 2019 after that season with the Patriots, look, people move on from and play for different teams. That's just a fact. That's just the way it is. It's hard to find players in today's NFL generation that want to play football and stay with a team for 20 plus years if they're not feel the recognition for it. Brady's going to get his jersey retired one day in New England. It's only a matter of time. I mean, I don't know if there will be a Patriots Hall of Fame thing for Brady. Maybe he'd be beneath that. Maybe. I don't know. I doubt it would be that. But I mean, for Brady's time, I mean, he took you guys to literally 9 Super Bowls. So I don't know what else to tell you there other than that fact that he took you to 9 Super Bowls, and he basically won another one without Bill Belichick. And really, he did it by himself. He did it with 3 people he could have trusted. Antonio Brown at the time and Rob Gronkowski. And himself, because he trusts himself. He trusts himself more. I mean, you could say maybe Mike Evans or Chris Godwin, but if you had to say realistically of who he really had his crew, who his crew really was, even heading into Tampa Bay, it was Gronk, himself, and Antonio Brown. And Brown hurt himself by doing what he did. It's sad. It really is sad at this point. I mean, I don't know what else to say here other than that, because Brown, to get himself thrown off the team, it's unfortunate. It really is unfortunate that he basically ruined his whole season here with this. And look, it is what it is. It's unfortunate that it happened. But, I mean, in reality, you have to look at this from this perspective here, that Brown's just hurting himself at the end of the day. He really is hurting himself. I mean, is he going to take responsibility for his actions? Of course not. Is he going to be a dick about it? Yeah, he will be. So I'll get the highlights started. Moving out of the Antonio Brown situation, going into the NFL highlight reel. Titans taking on the Indianapolis Colts. This game was really all about Ryan Tannehill in this game, trying to find some wiggle room here, and why he should be quarterback 1 still, really, for the Titans, really, if we're going to really be honest with ourselves. But he really didn't prove himself here in this game. He was 17 for 21, 137 yards, and 2 touchdowns in the game. He had no picks in this game, so that was a good thing. Game started overall with a 10-play, 8-yard drive. Think about that one for a minute. You got a 10-play, 8-yard drive if you're the Indianapolis Colts. I'm just learning this in my notes right now, which is really hard to believe. First play of the drive, Jonathan Taylor runs for 1 yard, gets tackled by Dupree and Simmons. Taylor again runs for 10 yards, gets the first down. Matt Ryan tried to throw a pass to Jonathan Taylor. It was an incomplete pass. Taylor lost 2 yards in the next play. Then Matt Ryan throws a pass to the Granderson for 14 yards, gets it down to the Indianapolis 48. And then Taylor runs for no gain. He tried to throw a deep pass to Michael Pittman there. It was incomplete. Tennessee was called for illegal use of the hands by Autry right now for the defensive penalty there. And then it was Ryan who threw 2 more incomplete passes. Then it was a false start. And then Matt Ryan was sacked in the backfield for for loss of 10 yards. And then it was fumbled, recovered by Autry at the Indianapolis 33-yard line. So the fumble took place there, sacked and lost negative 18 yards. So think about that one for a minute. Your play really started off from the 25-yard line. You had 10 plays to do this, and you would produce nothing more than your first fumble that was recovered by the Titans in the end there, which led to their touchdown score, which I'll tell you right now how that turned out. Derrick Henry runs for the left for 2 yards, passing over for 2 yards for Tannehill. Tannehill scrambles over the middle for 9 yards there, gets the first down. Derrick Henry runs for 12 more yards down to the Indy 7, and then it led to Robert Williams' crisp 7-yard touchdown pass. After a Colts punt, after they went 3 and out, Derrick Henry runs to the right for 6 yards there, runs up the middle for a yard, 4-yard pass to convert a third down. 22 yards to Derrick Henry again on a short pass to the left. It was really a screen. No one could really tackle him at that point. Then Chris Okoano taken out of bounds at the 19-yard line for a gain of 23 yards. And then Derrick Henry runs it up the middle for 19 yards perfectly. Nobody could touch them. So it's 14-0 there at that point. And I got to say, I mean, for 6 plays, 75 yards, and the most simplest of, drives, it's unfortunate that the Colts defense wasn't ready for this. And I just, I really do find it surprising. Colts kick a field goal on a 66-yard drive. Matt Ryan throws it for 19 yards to Granderson. 2 plays later, right to Pittman for 10 yards. A couple plays later after that one, throws it for 20 yards down to Paris Campbell down to the 26-yard line for the Titans. 2-yard pass play up the middle for Cole. I'm sorry, to Cox, and Cole made a tackle for Tennessee. Matt Ryan, once again, throwing it to Taylor, I'm sorry, right up the middle there for 2. Matt Ryan does an incomplete pass. Then another incomplete pass. It's 4th down. Then it's a delay of game for 5-yard penalty. They were trying to go for it on 4th down. They could not do it. They go for Chase McClellan's 27-yarder, and the Colts get on the board 14-3. Titans get a nice drive going right now. We're going to go a few plays into the drive right now that really made this interesting here. So they pass it over to Tannehill to the right for 10 yards to Robert Woods. There was a penalty against the Colts for roughing the passer, which added another 15 yards to that. Then a few plays later after that, Trey Burks running play for 4 yards there, gets the first down. A few plays later there, Tannehill tries to throw a deep pass to Traylon Burks. Again, it is incomplete. It is a field goal. Now it's 17-3, Titans. First play of the drive at that play, Matt Ryan throws a pass short to the middle and intended for Alex Pierce, the rookie out of Cincinnati, gets picked off by Tart. Now the Titans are in good position for another touchdown, which they get it right here from Ryan Tannehill. Short middle of the pass to Okinawa for 8 yards there. It is 24-3. Titans are up by 21 points. Cold strike before the end of the period here. Matt Ryan at the 14-yard line, 14-yard pass play to Cox there for the touchdown. It's 24-10. Matt Ryan so far, this was a play that was on a 9-play, 75-yard drive under 5 minutes and 27 seconds. Third quarter, Colts again strike with goal again here. Matt Ryan throwing it for Granson for 9 yards. A few plays later, Matt Ryan again to Mo out Cox for the second time in the game. Gets a touchdown there. It's now 24-17 at that point. I'm going to fast forward through this. This is towards the end of the game here. The Colts fumbled again. Jonathan Taylor runs to the right, fumbled it, and the Titans recovered it again. So Jonathan Taylor fumbled here. This was in deep Tennessee territory, right in their own 20, right at their 24-yard line. This fumble cost them the game. Really, it did. In actuality, so Jonathan Taylor fumbled the play there. Later on, they're trying to go. Chase McLaughlin guys trying to go for a 51-yard field goal at the Tennessee 33-yard line on a 4th and 21. And this is after Matt Ryan got sacked and all that, and just lost some yards there. So they managed to botch 2 drives in the deep Tennessee territory. And they missed a 51-yard field goal here. The kick is no good. That's the end of the game. Titans win 24-17. All I got to say about this game was that it was kind of pathetic how this played out. I'm not sure why they went for a 51-yard field goal there. They could have gone for it on 4th down. They had some great wide receivers in there that could have catch it. Tennessee secondary is not solid at best. They're really, in my opinion, a fraudulent defensive team. I'm just putting it out there. But this game, when it really came down to it, you had a 10-play, 8-yard drive to open up the game. You have a play deep in Tennessee territory that you could have taken advantage of your Jonathan Taylor. You lost the ball. So that's unfortunate there. You're basically now the new Adrian Peterson at this point that fumbles in crucial situations. So there you go. And then here, I got to question this call a lot. When you have a field goal that you're trying to go for here, and it's 51 yards out, and you got Matt Ryan as your quarterback, he's not lost a step. As a matter of fact, if you want to go to the stats right now at this point, I mean, in the game, he was 27 for 37, 356 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 pick. He was sacked 3 times in the game. Jonathan Taylor overall ran the ball too much in this game. That's really when it came down to it. As a team, you could not run the ball for crap. You had 38 yards rushing on 23 running plays. I get it. But in crucial situations, the run is not that important. It really isn't. And in that scenario there, I would never give Jonathan Taylor the ball when you got Matt Ryan, a great passer that Matt Ryan is, to throw it in the end zone for a touchdown. In this case here, and you got wide receivers here who are trying to prove themselves. Why is Jonathan Taylor carrying the ball too much? I mean, are you afraid of Matt Ryan throwing another interception? And in this case right now, deep in Tennessee territory, I'm sorry, but I'm not worried about that. I'm not worried about that at all. And Frank Reich, who should be taking advantage of the situation at this point, is treating this guy like he's Carson Wentz. Mm-hmm. And the only difference is that Carson Wentz is injury prone. Matt Ryan is finally surrounded by a great offensive line. Now, granted, he had a bad day, had a few sacks there. It happens with some good offensive lines. But don't really try to establish the run way too much because Matt Ryan is not that quarterback who's going to stand there for long, do play action passes, and stand there and wait for someone to get open. Because that's where the Colts struggle the most, as on those plays. And Alec Pierce in this game had 4 catches for 80 yards in this game. That's great and all. But he should be more part of the offense more. I'm sorry. When you got a guy in there who is a second-round pick or a third-round pick, you really need him to be established more in this game. And Jonathan Taylor, look, it was not your day. 20 carries for 42 yards and inexcusable. Especially against that great offensive line. Their defense is not that great, Tennessee. They've had one good game plan today. That was it. So that's all you really need to know about this game, really. Bills-Ravens. This was all about Lamar Jackson, getting too much trust from John Harbaugh, maybe. And it always backfires on him in home games, especially home games. Really, the game opened up with Josh Allen throwing an interception to Marlon Humphrey. Simple pass play there. It leads to a J.K. Dobbins 1-yard shovel pass in the end zone there. It's now 7-0. After a field goal there, it's 7-3. Ravens get the drive going right now. Gets the fluent motion going. Lamar Jackson scrambles for 4 yards there. J.K. Dobbins runs for 9 yards, gets a first down. 12-yard pass play to Duvernay. Jackson throws an incomplete pass to Bateman. 1-yard run for Hill. Later on there, Jackson scrambles up the middle for 10 yards, gets pushed out of bounds, gets the first down and more. A few plays later, another third down play. 13-yard pass play to Bateman. A 9-yard run from Jackson down to the Buffalo 18-yard line. Dobbins gets a 2-yard run. Lamar gets a first down throw to Mark Andrews for 6 yards. And then later on, J.K. Dobbins runs to the left-hand side, touchdown run. Easy first rushing touchdown and his first receiving touchdown of the season that he got in the same quarter here. It's now 14-3. Later on, at the Bills fumble there, and Baltimore was able to recover, it led to a field goal there. Bills had a punt. The Ravens had a field goal of their own later on in the game. It was Justin Tucker from 51 yards out. He was able to nail it good. Then here in this crucial situation right now, they got the ball back here. The Bills had a punt. Lamar Jackson had a throw to Mark Andrews for 7 yards, but it was called back for Falale being the ineligible receiver downfield. It was a 5-yard penalty. Jackson had an incomplete pass. Had another pass to Hill for 10 yards. And then the pressure was coming in. He was trying to throw with it to Demarcus Robertson. Robertson was covered by Proyer. Robinson wanted the flag, but did not get it. Went for a 3-and-out, and that was what really turned this whole game around. Because Buffalo's next drive, they were able to do 11 plays, 76-yard drives. So this is how it started out. 13-yard pass play to Gabriel Davis. 5 yards to Isaiah McKenzie. Stephon Diggs for 17 yards down to the Baltimore 41. 9-yard running play right there for Allen, short of the first. And then 2 plays later, Singletary runs to the left for 4 yards. Allen throws it for Singletary for 14 yards there. A few plays later there, Isaiah McKenzie gets a 4-yard touchdown pass from Josh Allen. Game is now 20-10. At one point it was 20-3. Now it's 20-10. That's the end of the half. Second half here after a Bills forcing a punt, and they actually got a field goal early on the drive. Josh Allen again runs to the left for 11 yards. That's all I need to know about this drive is that one play right there from the Baltimore 11-yard line. Scribbled it in there, got in there easily, got the touchdown there. It's now all tied at 20 apiece. The Bills get right here. Ravens get a drive going right now, 14 plays, 93-yard drives. In the end, though, it stalls because Lamar Jackson drives back, pressure coming in his way, gets picked up by Jordan Poyer in the game, and that right there leads to a Buffalo Bills field goal. After they couldn't stop the clock right now, they drove it down the field. And the Ravens could not call a time to stop the clock there at that point. Bills get the win 23-20. They scored 20 unanswered points. This is all I got to say about this if you're Lamar. Like, I get the call there being aggressive on 4th and goal. If you're going to go for it, though, and you have Lamar Jackson, go for a play-action play, make him go run around to the left-hand side. He'll get in easily, right? Why you have him throwing on fourth down at the 1 yard line it boggles my mind. It boggles my mind. He's trying to, I mean, you're going for the interception here in this case. You have to take that into account for them. By the way, he had 2 interceptions in the game for 20 for 29, throwing 144 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 picks. Josh Allen in the game was 19 for 36. Not a good game for him. It was the weather that was struggling with it, really. 213 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 pick. This was not Allen's afternoon, but was able to get a running game going right now. He had 11 carries for 70 yards. Team Aurora had 25 carries for 125 yards. But back to the call for a minute. And what John Harbaugh said afterward was amazing to me. He said the analytics say to go for that play because it always works, but he's always going to stick to his analytics. I don't know if that's what the exact quote was or what he said there, but there's no excuse. And especially when you have a really great clutch kicker like Justin Tucker, which you're really inside his range at that point, if not beyond his range. You can kick the field goal there, get the team a kickoff right now, and get Buffalo to start, try to pin him deep in a kickoff return with a really good kick there or something, because it just wasn't a good plan on Baltimore's part. And Marcus Peters exploded after this at John Harbaugh here. And you can't blame Marcus Peters for getting frustrated. That was a game that they probably should have won. So, I mean, they blew it here. It's that simple. They actually blew it in this game. Browns-Falcons. This was an interesting scenario here now going forward with the Browns in this game. They had no Myles Garrett in this game, was out with the injury. Game opened up here right now with Cordell passing 13-yard run at the field goal with the Falcons in the first drive. It's 10-0 Falcons. Later on, Jacoby Brissett's a 4-yard run. Then a field goal by the Browns to tie it at 10 apiece. Third quarter, Caleb Huntley gets a 5-yard run there, 17-13. And Young Koo kicks on 2 more field goals. Nick Chubb was able to get a 28-yard touchdown run. Unfortunately, the Falcons got the drive winning at the end there as the Falcons get the win over the Cleveland Browns, 23-20. I did pick the Browns to win the game. Unfortunately, I failed at that one so far. Up to that point, if I got to go back to most of the games I picked up yesterday, I picked the Colts to win, which I lost, or not yesterday, sorry, Sunday, which I lost that game. The Bills I picked to win. I got that pick. I picked the Vikings to win. I picked the Browns to win, so I was 2-2 at that point. All I got to say about this game was that this was a game that Arthur Smith finally gave up on Marcus Mariota. He was 7 for 19 in the game, 139 yards, 1 interception. Brissett in this game had 21 for 35, no touchdowns, 1 pick of his own. Neither quarterback threw a touchdown in the game. It was really about the rush attack here. After the interception throw by Marcus Mariota, they decided not to pass for the rest of the game. They just ran. And I think that was the advantage point there because I don't think Clowney played in this game, I don't believe. I may be wrong about that, but I think Clowney did not play in this game, which I can tell by my stat sheet right now that he was not even in the game at all. But yeah, there was no Clowney in the game, no Myles Garrett. So that defense was one-dimensional, really. Without those 2 key guys, you can run all over them. I don't know if that was really what the case was, or he just really thinks that Marcus Mariota absolutely blows in this game. But you go 7 for 19 in this game for 139 yards. You're not that good. Sorry, you're not. And there's been a lot of games this year where these quarterbacks have thrown either 8 completions, 7 completions, 9 completions. Like, it's just, they're not great numbers. And if you run the ball too much, that means because you're playing conservative right now and you have no confidence in your quarterback. And Marcus Mariota in this game only had 5 carries for 3 yards. So at that point, they didn't even want Marcus Mariota to even run it himself. That goes to share right now that the Falcons right now do not trust their quarterback right now at this point. Now, if they bring in Desmond Ridder in next Sunday against the Buccaneers and face Tom Brady, that'd be interesting. But we'll see. I mean, I think at this point you should. I don't see how you couldn't. And I think realistically it gives this team a shot for where they are right now record-wise, because they're 2-2 right now, and they're only in 3rd place right now. Or I should say now, actually, are they in 1st place technically now at this point anyway? Or is it actually, no, it's not even the Saints. That's true. So the Falcons may have actually surpassed. I'm trying to think. No, the Bucs are still in 1st place. They got a division win. Okay, so at that point, it's just okay. Like, that's interesting. So, we'll see what happens now going forward with them if they put Ridder in the game. I think they should. I mean, if you have no confidence in your quarterback at this point to even throw the ball at this point, it is kind of sad at this point to even keep him in. So we'll see what happens now going forward. Dallas Cowboys taking on the Washington Commanders. The Carson, I put this down in my Bleacher Report the other day. How the Carson Wentz project is dead. He played absolutely terrible in this game. This was probably one of the worst games he had all year. Overall, I didn't think he played that great. Not gonna lie. This game really came down to here right now. The Cowboys were up 6-0. Jahan Dotson got a 10-yard pass for Carson Wentz, makes it 7-6. Michael Gallup first came back, 9-yard running play from Cooper Rush there, puts the Cowboys up 12-7. They missed the extra point. Carson Wentz did throw up 2 interceptions in the game. Here was one right now. The Trayvon Diggs was trying to throw it, I think deep. I think it was to Dotson, I believe. It was picked off there. CeeDee Lamb gets a 30-yard touchdown pass, 22-10, and that's all she wrote. The Dallas Cowboys got the win, 25-10. Cooper Rush had 15 for 27, 223 yards, 2 touchdowns, no picks. Wentz 25 for 42, 170 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions. Not a good day overall. CeeDee Lamb had 6 catches for 97 yards for a touchdown, and Dotson had 3 catches for 43 yards for a touchdown. So the highlight of this game was that they debuted the new black jerseys. There was no Chase Young in the game. There was rumors that he was going to come back earlier. Obviously, that was not the case in this game. Otherwise, other than that, it was not a good game. It really wasn't. I mean, this game overall was very bad from the start. Bad game plan. Wentz was not pressured a lot in this game, so he didn't take the sacks a lot in this game, but he did have a bad quarterback rating overall in the game. Samuel Over had 4 catches for 38 yards for the Commanders. Bates had 4 catches for 19 yards for the Commanders. Thomas had 5 catches for 19 yards. McCoy only had 2 catches in the game, was targeted 6 times overall. Diggs was able to shut down the opposition really well in this game, and that's what made it interesting here. So Dallas goes to 3-1 as they face the LA Rams next week in LA. That's all you need to know there. This was a duel. That's all I'm going to say this next game was, which was Seattle Seahawks taking the Detroit Lions. 48-45 victory in Detroit. This is really when it started out with 17-yard pass play from Geno Smith to Will Disley. Makes it 7-0. T.J. Hockenson gets a 32-yard pass play, a touchdown from Jared Goff. Nice shot. Chris Stroh missed the extra point. Geno Smith just runs it himself. Couldn't find anybody open. Gets an 8-yard run. Makes it 14-6. After a couple of field goals there, it's 17-9. Noah Fant gets his touchdown reception. I believe this is Noah Fant's first touchdown this season with the Seahawks. It's 24-9. Jamal Williams runs up the middle for a 1-yard play. I think they were trying to go for 2. They could not get it. 24-15. Pick 6. Jared Goff throws a pick 6 in this game. 40-yard interception return for a touchdown. It's now 31-15. Right away, right as they open the third quarter with that one. Then Jamal Williams right up the middle, 51 yards. No one's going to catch him there. It's a touchdown. Lions finally got a 2-point conversions, 31-23. Rashad Penny gets a 36-yard run as well to answer the Jamal Williams run. Puts the Seahawks up 38-23. Reynolds gets a 3-yard touchdown pass from Jared Goff. Makes it 38-31. Myers gets a field goal there. Makes it 41-31. T.J. Hockenson gets a 4-yard touchdown pass, his second of the day. And Penny just puts the game away at that point. Makes it a 41-yard run. This game is over at that point. Justin Jackson gets one more desperate move here. They try to go for the onside kick. Seahawks recovers. Now the Seahawks get the win, 48-45. They improve to 2-2 on the year as Detroit drops down to 1-3 after their win against the Commanders a couple weeks ago. Geno Smith overall in this game, 23 for 30, 320 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. Jared Goff, 26 for 39, 378 yards, 4 touchdowns, 1 pick. Penny had 2 rushing touchdowns on 151 yards for 17 carries. And Williams had 108 yards on 2 touchdowns and 19 carries. Hockenson in the game had 8 catches for 179 yards, 2 touchdowns. DK Metcalf, who pulled a Paul Pierce, got carted off the field to go use the bathroom, had 7 catches for 149 yards. Lockett had 6 catches for 91 yards, and Disley had 4 catches for 39 yards in the game overall. This was a great game, great duel. It may be in the running for the game of the year, possibly with the Dolphins, Ravens right now competing with it. Maybe, I'm not sure. I look at this game, I say to myself, I'm leaving it scratching my head because there's hardly any defense played in this game at all, if anything. Detroit stinks defensively. That's all there is that you need to know. Aiden Hutchinson in the game didn't do much, I don't think. If I have the stat in front of me, which I believe that I do. Detroit overall in this game defensively, and they had turnovers in the game. A lot of mistakes here, really, for them in this game. But as far as Hutchinson goes, he had 5 tackles in the game. No sacks at all in this game, and he got 2 quarterback hits. I mean, Geno Smith's an easy target to hit, so I don't see why you couldn't get him here. And one of those hits actually, ironically, came really on that touchdown run. That was it. He had one little touch on him. That was it. And he got a little hit on him later on in the game. But overall, this game was no defense at all whatsoever. 1,073 yards combined, 695 passing yards combined. And really, if we're going to really be honest here at this point, going into team stats here right now at this point, we had to look at the combined first downs here in this game. 54 first downs combined by both teams. Seahawks were 9 for 12 on third down. They had Detroit had more plays. Seattle overall, 555 yards of total offense. That's more than Russell Wilson has had all year so far with Denver. Just put it that way. I don't know if it's the rebirth at this point for Geno Smith or Pete Carroll's just that good of a head coach. I don't know. Are we going to see Geno Smith for the first time in the playoffs for the Seahawks? Probably. It's looking a little more like that now than Denver making the playoffs because they got too many issues on defense and they got too many issues on offense. You got 2 guys out with torn ACL, which was Javonte Williams and Randy Gregory, who got injured on the play, but he might be out for 6 weeks. So that's good. But other than that, I mean, in this game overall, this was a Geno Smith show. He didn't get sacked once in this game, which is amazing to me because I can't figure out how he didn't get sacked in this game. And the only turnovers he really had in this game was a fumble loss and an interception. Now, I don't know. It was Lockett who fumbled at one point and lost the fumble. But after that, I mean, all in all, Seattle's offensive line is a hell of a lot better now than where they were before. They don't allow that many sacks, if anything, and they can protect the quarterback. Now, I don't know if it's just drafting an offensive lineman at this point that hit it and Pete Carroll's head going, oh, my God. But I think he's not going to admit to that. He knows in his mind that you got rid of a disgruntled player, in his opinion and mind. He didn't trust him after that Super Bowl 49 loss to the Patriots. It's that simple. And now you're rubbing it in his face by using Geno Smith as a quarterback. Now, the team's now 2-2. We'll see now what happens now going forward with them. But I'm just trying to figure this team out because there's so much intrigue now with this team because there's a lot of question marks there. There really is. Are we going to see Andy Dalton this weekend versus Geno Smith? I kind of hope we do. Because honestly, Jameis Winston will just screw it up somehow. At least Dalton might give you a shot. But otherwise, this was a really great game for Geno Smith. This was a rebirth of this guy's career. If the Seahawks keep on winning here, I look at it like this. I mean, they may actually end up being in the conversation for a playoff run this year with the 49ers and leaving the Cardinals high and dry. Because I hate to clue you. I know both teams now are 2-2 because I'm getting the Cardinals at this highlight just a little bit. But I kind of trust the Seahawks more. I mean, I even though they have a horrible defense, I look at DK Metcalf. You got Tyler Lockett there. You got Will Disley there. You got Noah Fant there. You have weapons. It's not like you don't have any weapons. It's not like Noah Fant sucks. Okay, Noah Fant's a pretty good guy. I mean, in this game overall, he had 1 catch for 2 yards. He's a great blocker. He's a great blocking tight end, which is what he should have been used in Denver. He was used more for a receiving type. He's used more for blocking here. So it helps the offensive line out more. It reminds me of a lesser version of Rob Gronkowski when it comes to his blocking. He's a great blocker. Not a great wide receiver tight end, but a great blocker. And if you use him right, it makes sense here for Seattle to have a deep run in the playoffs. And right now you have a great running back in Rashad Penny right now, who I think who you make a case for now for, maybe for a rushing title maybe. Maybe he gets in that rushing title conversation. You never know. I mean, so far this season alone for him, he's had 49 carries for 292 yards, 2 touchdowns. And 4 weeks, that's not great, but it's a work in progress. This guy's in his 4th or 5th year so far at San Diego State, averages 6 yards per game, which is 7th in the league. So, I mean, it kind of makes sense here. And I can see Rashad Penny. You can argue right now, if he has more games like this, he may actually get the rushing. He may actually be in a conversation for a rushing title. Not winning it over Jonathan Taylor or Derrick Henry, but he can be in that conversation. So, we'll see what happens there now going forward. But Detroit's a fraud team. That's all you need to know. They are frauds. They're frauds. They have now had 2 games this season where they've scored over 30 points. They're 0-2 in both those. Actually, they're 1-2 in both those games. And I can look at it right now. They're playing the New England Patriots this weekend, and I don't have any confidence in them whatsoever going into New England in Gillette Stadium and pulling off a victory against the Patriots. I'm sorry. I don't care where the Patriots have a quarterback. They could have Brian Hoyer. They could have Mac Jones with a bad ankle. They could have Seppi. They could even have Tim Tebow in this game. And Detroit will still lose the game. So I don't trust this team at all whatsoever. I'm sorry. I don't. That's all you need to know here at this point about that game. Bears, Giants, not much of a highlight there other than let you know right now but that both Tyrod Taylor and Daniel Jones got injured. That's all you need to know here about this whole thing. This game really came down to Daniel Jones running it here, 21-yard run, makes it 7-3. Later on, it's 7-6. Daniel Jones with another 8-yard run. Michael Bagley kicked a bunch of field goals in this game. That's all you really need to know. He's 4 for 4 on a day. It ended up with 2 more field goals right now. The Giants overall. Saquon Barkley in the game was just a man here in this game, running like a man possessed. Had 31 carries for 146 yards. You can argue right now he may get the rushing title this year. Right now, first in the league right now in rushing. Saquon Barkley right now is running away with it right now with 84 carries for 463 yards. He's got 2 touchdowns. He averages 5.5 yards per game average-wise. That's 10th in the league. And you could argue right now that this guy may be in the running right now for winning a rushing title as well. Penny's in that conversation as well with the Seahawks offensive line, which I think both offensive lines this year improved a lot this year. The Bears overall, they drop another game. That's all you need to know. They really were not good in this game. It was kind of disappointing to watch them not be good in this game. But it was really just the highlight of this whole game was that Fields once again felt the pressure. Saquon Barkley at one point came in at running back, came in at quarterback and ran the Wildcat. And it worked to perfection because the Bears couldn't stop it. The Bears overall allowed 262 yards rushing on 44 running plays. It was really about establishing the run right now. There was never a point in this game where they wanted Jones to throw too much here. I get it. If they do this continuously with a great defense, they're for a real team, I think, in my opinion. Right now, you could argue right now the Giants and Seahawks could be battling for a playoff spot later on in the year. But Justin Fields overall, just 6 sacks, 19 yards lost on those sacks. There was a couple of turnovers by Ebner. He fumbled it twice. Lost the fumble. I think it was both times on the punt. I think he is a punt returner, I believe. Or it was on a running play, I believe. I'm not really sure. I had to go back and look it up. But again, I mean, this was overall the Giants' dominant win. They got the win at home. They improved to 3-1. They play the Packers next week in London. A lot of questions now surrounding the Green Bay Packers after their game against the Patriots over the weekend or not, whether or not they got lucky or not. And now they're going against a tough defense. So you could argue right now this may be an upset win for the Giants next week. They could go into London next week and make a statement right now. Saquon Barkley at this point is a beast of a man. And I got to tell you right now, they had a hard time stopping the Patriots with the running games last Sunday here. It could be the same issue with the Giants. You never know. Jaguars versus Eagles. This was Doug Peterson's return game to Philly. He got the standing ovation. You may argue it was probably louder than Tom Brady's standing ovation in Gillette. My opinion is it was. I heard it a little bit right now. They were giving it this guy a loud Philadelphia. And Philadelphia's louder than New England anyway. So, I mean, I'm just being realistic here. It was louder. And it was a lot more heartwarming. And I don't think Doug Peterson got booed once in the entire game. So, I mean, I don't even think the Jaguars even got booed once. And they're in Philadelphia. This was a competitive game. Really was. It was an undefeated team versus a 2-1 team. Jalen Hurts early threw a pick 6 here to Andre Kisco. He returned to 59 yards. Jaguars are up 7-0. Later on, Trevor Lawrence gets to Jamal Agnew for 4 yards there. Lawrence on the day had a struggling day, 11 for 23, 174 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 1 interception. Jalen Hurts later on gets a 3-yard run, makes it 14-7. Miles Sanders gets a 10-yard run. Then later on, Kenneth Gainwell gets in the show here with a 20-14. Miles Sanders gets a 5-yard run to pretty much ice the game at this point. Then Agnew one more time from 8 yards out. Overall, the game, Miles Sanders had 27 carries for 134 yards and 2 touchdowns. A.J. Brown had 5 catches for 95 yards. Christian Kirk had 2 catches for 60 yards. Agnew in this game had 4 catches for 50 yards and 2 touchdowns. But in the end, it was all about the Philadelphia Eagles and their defense. They got to Trevor Lawrence. He got sacked 4 times in the game. Eagles get the win 29-21. Jaguars drop the 2-2, and the Eagles are now 4-0. The Eagles are for real. Just going to put it out there for you. They are for real. Brown and Goddard in this game combined had 10 catches for 167 yards. No touchdowns from either guy there, but it's all right. Devontae Smith had 3 catches overall for 17 yards. Again, every time when A.J. Brown has a big game, so does Devontae Smith. He needs to have that at this point. I don't know if it's just one day he wants to play A.J. Brown in his fantasy league at this point and just screw over Devontae Smith maybe. I'm just saying that could be a possibility there. But overall, this game was really about the rush attack here. They had 50 running plays here for 210 yards. Sanders overall had 2 touchdowns here. Hurts had 16 carries for 38 yards for a touchdown. And Gainwell had 5 catches for 19 yards. He's made a case right now for MVP. Along with Tua, along with Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson. I mean, he's in that conversation now at this point. It's anybody's ball game now at this point anyway. And Philadelphia at this point right now is 4-0. They are a tough team to figure out. They are a tough team to beat. And I don't see anybody beating them at all for a while. I really don't. I mean, this is a really tough team. Great defensive team. Great mindset of defensive team. They know how to win. They know how to win. It was a nice heartwarming moment when they got Doug Peterson and they got to hug it out on the field. But you gotta know at that point, Jaguars right now at this point are 2-2. Is it over for them? I don't think it is. I mean, I think at this point, Indianapolis is just washed up defensively. So who knows? Because they're playing the Colts next week in Indianapolis, so we'll see what happens there going forward. I'm sorry, not next week. They're playing Houston next week, so they'll get a win next week against Houston. They're playing the Colts right after that, though, so who knows? I mean, they might be able to beat Indy because Indy's not that great at home either. So just being realistic about that. Overall, they are playing the Giants a couple weeks after they play the Colts or after the Texans, so that'll be an interesting matchup there in Jacksonville. You may argue that might be game of the year because this game's going to be coming out of Saquon Barkley versus Trevor Lawrence. That's going to be on the 23rd in Jacksonville. So that could be game of the year. Could be. So a lot of shocking games that could be game of the year. So, look at Seattle and Detroit. I mean, they combined to get 93 points, 695 yards, passing yards, 54 first downs combined. And really overall in the game, 1,073 yards, total yards combined. That's all you really need to know in this game. Jets, Steelers. This really came down to the New York special, which was Zach Wilson getting a 2-yard reception from Braxton Berrios. Jets were already up 3-0. Now it's 10-0 at that point. Boswell had 2 field goals right before the end of the half right now. One from 51, one from 59. Trubisky was not great in this game overall. Just could not get anything going. It was 7 for 13, 84 yards. Got sacked 3 times by the Jet defense. Overall, the Jets got to him, swarming all over him. Was not really a fun day for as Williams got the sack, Johnson got the sack, and I believe Lawson got the sack in this game as well. Kenny Pickett comes in the game, trying to throw the ball out, gets picked off a few times there. Just overall, this game was not a fun matchup. Wilson did throw an interception in the game, but it really didn't matter at that point. What it really came down to was 2 rushing touchdowns by Kenny Pickett. There was an interception. There was a touchdown late in the game with Breece Hall throwing it, trying to get a rushing touchdown. There was ruled a fumble, but it was initially called a touchdown. Get the Jets up 24-20, and that's all she wrote here at this point. Granted, Pickett at this point did struggle in the game. They had 4 turnovers overall. The Steelers, Trubisky did throw a pick before he got pulled in the game. It looks like now going forward, they may stick with Pickett. Pickett has been now named the starting quarterback going forward. They thought they could use a flash in their offense, and they sort of did. But now they're 1-3, and they're taking on the Buffalo Bills next week in Buffalo. So, real test for Pickett next week. We'll see what happens now going forward. Chargers Texans. All I say about the Jets before I even get to this moment. Let me bring it out there about the Jets. I picked the Jets to win because I didn't believe in Trubisky. I just didn't. Now, do I think going for the New York Jets right now, we've got this all figured out at the point, they're going to have a winning year? No. I just think the Jets are going to be the Jets. They're going to struggle badly in big games. In fact, the next couple of weeks here right now, they're playing the Dolphins at home, on the road at Green Bay, at Denver, and then home against the Patriots, then against the Buffalo Bills, then at the New England Patriots a couple of weeks after that. So, are they going to win any of those games? No. Even without Tua Tagovailoa, who's already been ruled out because of the concussion, and you got Teddy Bridgewater in there, and you may even argue right now that if Bridgewater does good enough in this game that he may take the starting job away from Tua. Zach Wilson got his job back. He played great in this game. I think overall he was great in this game. He had 252 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions. Kenny Pickett was 10 for 1,320 yards, 3 interceptions. And the keys in these interceptions were this. Pickett was in a game with George Pickens. Pickens got his moment. He had 6 catches for 102 yards. He finally had a big game. It didn't matter, though, because the Steelers defense failed to stop the Jets offensively in this game. And all it really came down to was Breece Hall in the end. He had 17 carries for 66 yards and a touchdown. Harris had 18 carries for 74 yards. No touchdowns in the game. Harris overall, his numbers are coming into question at this point. You got 58 carries and only 202 yards. And that's your offensive line at this point should be establishing a run at this point. They're not doing that for this guy. He's not had a 100-yard rush game yet. I believe Breece Hall's already had one at this point, if I'm not mistaken here at this point. Let's take a look here. Not really, but Breece Hall's got a long way to go before he gets in that rush conversation. He's only a rookie. It's fine. He's gonna have time to find himself. But Zach Wilson overall threw it 36 times in this game. Wasn't great numbers, but the Jets were able to pull out the victory. He led a touchdown game-winning drive against a Pittsburgh Steelers defense that, even though you had no T.J. Watt in this game, I think T.J. Watt would have never made a difference in this game. I think realistically, and really when it really came down to it, Joe Burrow gave the Steelers their first win. Because right now, if Joe Burrow didn't throw those 4 interceptions and the offensive line actually did a great job protecting him at the time, the Steelers would be 0-4 right now, and they'd be looking at 0-5. They're not a good team. They stink realistically. And I can tell you right now, going forward, their next win is not going to come for a while. It's not. I mean, and now you're going to put Pickett in there possibly against Teddy Bridgewater and the Dolphins a few weeks from now. And then you got to go to Philadelphia on the road. So you have back-to-back road games against very tough opponents at that point, followed by the fact right now that you got to go in there against the Buccaneers and the Buffalo Bills before that. You're home against the Bucs, but you're at Buffalo. Good luck with that. Good luck with that. I have no confidence this kid wins any of these games. None. If you're not going to be able to protect the run at this point, there's no point. I mean, there really is no point at this point. He didn't get sacked in the game, granted, but can Pickett turn it around? I don't think he can. I don't think he can. I'm just being honest. I don't think the Steelers are going to win any games with him going forward. I'd be stunned if Tampa Bay could lose to them because we're not sure about Tampa Bay. I'm not sure about Tampa Bay at this point. So the Buffalo one is a definite loss. Tampa Bay depends on what kind of day Brady has in Pittsburgh. That's really about it. So, but I think that I'm not going to bet against Tom Brady here. I'm still going to go with the Bucs, obviously, to win these games. But you're putting this kid in a really hard situation at this point. I mean, later on here, you got a bye week, and then you have to play the Saints, which might be their first win here now going forward. If we're going to really be honest with ourselves now going forward here. The 20th, they play the Bengals. That's a loss. The Colts, you might win that matchup. You might win the matchup against the Falcons. You might beat the Panthers. You might beat the Raiders, and you might beat the Browns. You might beat the Ravens at home. On the road, I don't think you're going to. The Steelers are going to have their first losing season this year. That's all you need to know. They're going to have 6 more losses before the end of the year, maybe even 5 or 7 more here, or 8. I think in this case it would be 8 more hitting for 11. So you're looking at a 6-11 year for Pittsburgh. That's it. The Jets right now, you're looking at the same thing with them. Maybe even more less. Or maybe more likely 5 wins for them. And 12 losses. Because this is just a fraudulent season now. By taking away Joe Flacco at this point, you've ruined your season. I'm sorry. You've ruined it. The kid was not ready to come back in the game. The Jets defense bailed him out. That's really about it in a nutshell. I picked the Jets to win the game because I trust in Zach Wilson and Joe Flacco and that coaching staff more, which is really hard to believe at this point considering it's Mike Tomlin as a head coach for the Steelers. But I kind of trust them more at this point with this quarterback setup. And if Mike Tomlin was running it, the roles would be reversed. Steelers would be winning that game. That's it. So that's that. LA Chargers at the Houston Texans. This was an Austin Eckler show. He had 3 touchdowns in the game. He had a receiving touchdown from Herbert in the game. He had 27 for 39, 340 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. Eckler was the man in this game. Gets a 10-yard run. Gets a 14-yard run late in the game. He gets a 20-yard run, makes it 21-0 at one point. Damian Pierce had a 75-yard run for the Houston Texans, makes it 21-7. This was an Eckler-Pierce running back duel, if I can be perfectly honest right now, because it was no contest between Herbert and Davis Mills. We're going to really be honest with ourselves now going forward. He did throw an interception in the game. He had throw 2 interceptions. Mills had 26 for 35, 246 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 picks. Pierce in the game won the duel and the rush battle because he had 131 yards rushing Pierce for 1 touchdown. Mike Williams had 7 catches for 120 yards. That's the most for any rookie for the Houston Texans running the ball at this point. Unfortunately, now they're 0-3-1 because that's all she wrote here. Herbert was on fire in this game, though, overall, throwing darts. This was a great game for him. Great recovery from losing to Jacksonville last week. Overall, the LA Chargers now, they look like in a good spot. I mean, realistically, they're better than Denver. Just got to be honest with you now going forward. They're better than Denver. I think they're better than Kansas City. You could argue right now that Kansas City, they got the win over the Bucs over the weekend, which I'll get into just a little bit. But they have a team overall that can do it. The problem is luck is not on their side half the time. So you now have 2 games against Kansas City now where they've lucked out and beaten you guys in prime time. And here, realistically, you could argue now that those 2 losses that you had at this point, first of all, you deserve to lose against Jacksonville. You should have beaten Kansas City, but you didn't need to beat. You couldn't beat Jacksonville that day. And they were going head to head right now. I don't think Jacksonville would lose to that team again. In fact, I can't even imagine Jacksonville even losing another match to the LA Chargers after the way they played and exposed their defense. I just think it's not realistic. It's not in the cards. But yeah, the Chargers right now at this point could be competing for a division title. They're only a game back at this point. Denver's in 3rd place, because we'll get into their matchup in just a second. Cardinals-Panthers, that was the first 4 o'clock game in the afternoon game here. Kyler Murray was the man here. He threw a 2-yard touchdown pass to Zach Ertz. He had a couple of field goals there. It was a interception by that was forced by J.J. Watt. J.J. Watt in the game got his first game back. He was going through a heart problem at that point. He was going through some heart issues this week, but was able to play in the game. It was an emotional day for him. There was an interception there at that point. 3 pass deflection by Allen. 1 deflection by Gardick at this point. Going back to the part of the game cast here in just a second here at this point. Kyler Murray had a 4-yard run, a 23-yard touchdown pass that was from the interception that was played there. They failed a 2-point conversion. Christian McCaffrey got a 13-yard touchdown pass from Baker Mayfield at that point. The game was already over. It was 26-16. Failed a 2-point conversion. Baker Mayfield was picked off again for a second time there. 22 for 36, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions for Baker Mayfield. McCaffrey only had 8 carries for 27 yards. This was really about Baker Mayfield trying to prove that he's quarterback 1 on this team. But anyway, Kyle Murray had 23 for 32, 207 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 pick. Hollywood Browns had 6 catches for 88 yards and a touchdown. Christian McCaffrey had 9 catches for 81 yards and a touchdown. Was used more as a wide receiver in this game because the wide receivers for Carolina just didn't show up. DJ Moore only had 1 catch for 11 yards, and there was no Robbie Anderson in this game. I don't know if Anderson was injured or he's just not playing, if he's pissed off at Baker Mayfield at this point, which I think there's a rumor saying that he is. And Matt Rule had something to say about this, actually. Matt Rule had something to say about this in the following here after Baker Mayfield here. And you could argue right now this was probably not the best time to bring it up at this point. Do I have the clip of that right now? Can I pull it up? Let's take a look and see. I don't think I had a clip for this one. I thought I did. I guess not in this case. I thought I had the clip here, which is very surprising. I don't have the clip for this. The clip for the game itself. Matt Rule himself actually saying what he had to say there, but he did say he's QB1, but Sam Darnold is not close to coming back yet. So he's wishing right now if Sam Darnold was healthy right now, he would come back and play in the game. That's all you need to know about that whole thing. So we'll take but Baker is our QB1, is what he said. But it didn't sound right to me. It didn't hit well for me that was even said. I think in reality that you actually had to say that in your press conference means to me that you're not believing right now in your quarterback. And it's unfortunate. It really is unfortunate. But, if you really don't believe in your quarterback at this point, sign another one. That's it. But J.J. Watt got emotional here. I do have a clip of what J.J. Watt had to say. Oh.
Then, yes.
Hold on. Let me try again.
For months, we've been looking at ultrasounds of our baby boy, and they're all extremely happy. And then, yes, Thursday, we were looking at ultrasound of my heart. It was very tough. It's been a week. It's been a week, but happy to be here. Happy to. Think about not playing, yeah, I did. I mean, it's been tough, It was just weird. Just weird. I have a baby on the way. Saved the game with that tip pass. Yeah, the boys played good today. I don't want to take away from the great game. The boys played a great game.
So that was in the press conference on last Sunday at their win against the Cardinals. The Cardinals right now, I'm having a hard time believing this team will be a playoff team because I think realistically they're in trouble later on in their schedule right now as they play the Eagles next Sunday. It's tough. It really is. If J.J. Watt can show that much emotion against Philadelphia in this game and it can expose them, fine. I'll be a believer at this point. If they get the win, then I'll change my whole perspective on Seattle at this point. Like, sorry, you're not making the playoffs. But you got at least 4 teams now in the NFC West now who are 2-2. You could argue now at this point that that happened the way it did. I mean, look, you got a baby boy in the way. You got an ultrasound of your heart. He's been going through a lot of heart issues, and he had a calf issue at one point. I mean, J.J. Watt's getting up there in age. Been playing the NFL for over 12 years now. It's not easy for him to stay healthy like this, especially with his injury history and for how hard of a player he is. He can play a lot of good ball here. Baker Mayfield, though, as far as I'm concerned, yeah, he's trash. He sucks for this team. That's it. He should not be throwing the ball 36 times when you have Christian McCaffrey as your running back at this point. And you finally have a healthy Christian McCaffrey. So there's no excuse for this. He's not injured. He played well. He practiced all week. But yet you use him for wide receiver. Why? Because your other guys didn't show up? And because Ryan Anderson quit on you? There you go. I mean, but the next few weeks are going to be tough. And I don't know. I don't know if Arizona's going to be successful in this series against Seattle here because of really how great Seattle's been playing lately. But they've just been a really interesting team to watch. They really have. Philadelphia, though, might put a damper on their plans. I don't think New Orleans will. The Vikings might. The Rams might. So, and you have to play Seattle a little bit later on. I mean, you got a really tough schedule here going forward after this win that you had today against Carolina. So soak it in now because you're gonna need that all emotion to come back in if you're J.J. Watt is pointing in the Cardinals. I'm just saying. And Kyler Murray should do more though than throw for 270 yards. I'm just basing it off on that statement right there. Broncos Raiders. This was another 425 game. This was a game that looked at the Garrett Bowles a leapfrog attempt. Kind of a tackle there with a fumble return by actually, let me just get into the play-by-play of this whole thing right now. So first quarter, it is 3-0 at that point. Denver has the ball. Russell Wilson is looking to drop back, 3rd and goal. Fires, caught by Courtland Sutton for the touchdown. It's 7-3. They had a 4-play, 34-yard drive after a really bad punt by the Raiders. Later on, Raiders drive the ball down the field. Derek Carr gets it off to Josh Jacobs for a 10-yard run for a touchdown. It's now 10-7. It's 10-10 at one point. Denver later on, this is where the fumble really occurred here. So Javonte Williams runs it up the middle here for a 2-yard run, gets the first down, but this is where Amik Robinson, this is where the fumble occurred here. I believe it was on a handoff play. Doesn't really say on my screen here. He returns it 68 yards, gets a touchdown for Las Vegas at this point, 16-10. They missed the extra point, I believe. So Carlson missed the extra point. Jerry Drew gets a 20-yard touchdown pass from Russell Wilson. He gets on the board right now. He gets a touchdown in the game. It's on a 5-play, 75-yard drive. It's 16-all. The game was, at that point, a dead tie here. Raiders got a field goal before the end of the half. Let's get fast forward here to the fourth quarter. Denver gets a touchdown again. Russell Wilson throws it to Hamler for 55 yards. That was a nice bomb there. Then Russ Wilson, play later there, gets a touchdown run for 3 yards out. It is 25-23. This was all the field goal show at this point, and this one really put the game away pretty much. Another 7-yard run for Josh Jacobs. Gets a touchdown right now. Josh McDaniels gets his first win in 12 years as a head coach. Team is now 1-3. Raiders get the win, 32-23 in Nevada. In my opinion here, this hasn't changed. Russell Wilson at this point is struggling with this team. About that. The fact now that Javonte Williams is out with a torn ACL, I believe he tore the ACL on that play. I'm just going to put it out there and just put that in perspective for a second. KJ Hamler had the only receiving yards for 55 yards down the field. Wilson can throw the deep ball. That we know. Without Rennie Gregory, this defense is one-dimensional at this point. They're not that aggressive. They're not that good. In my opinion, Denver right now is going to have a hard time right now making the playoffs this year with what they had to compete with in the AFC West. I'm just being realistic here. Do I think they could be the Indianapolis Colts this week in Denver at home? Yeah, because it's in prime time. You can't bet against Russell Wilson in prime time. He's been the master at prime time games. There's some games where he might not win it for you, but I mean, when it's in the money, you're at home, and you got one guy to depend on in the AFC at this point, who's been good as in the NFC. It is Russell Wilson. But Josh Jacobs in this game ran all over this team. He had 28 carries for 144 yards, 2 touchdowns. Derek Carr in the game did nothing in this game. At one point, he was already at 180 yards at that point. And he only had about, I think it was 13 for 21, I think it was. He threw for 8 yards in the entirety of that game after I looked at that stat. And I couldn't believe it because when I was watching it at first, I'm thinking to myself, so they just abandoned the pass altogether pretty much and made Josh Jacobs run the whole damn show. And you can argue right now that may actually help the Raiders here because realistically, I mean, Derek Carr is no longer the face. That's what it tells me right now. They're dependent on their running back here. And it was the same thing here that they had here back in Denver when they had Tim Tebow at quarterback, that he was never really truly the face, but the running back attack was. I'm trying to remember who the running back was at the time here. We're going back to 2011 here right now, going forward, but I can't, or 2010. I can't remember that really that far. But you could argue now at this point that the Denver Broncos here losing this game was not a good thing. This is another one of my picks because I had Denver winning the game in Las Vegas because I thought for sure that Josh McDaniels was going to go 0-4, and then they're going to wait 2 more weeks after that when they go 0-6 and then fire the guy. I just think realistically at this point that's still in the cards. It's still in the table right now going forward. They lose a couple more games. But they did this for their coach. And Devontae Adams in this game, yeah, Carr may have only thrown for 8 yards in the game, but Adams got most of the receptions here. He had 9 receptions for 101 yards in this game. No touchdowns. But, I mean, they didn't really try with Derek Carr because Derek Carr was not impressing the coach. And he got sacked twice in the game. He did not have a good game overall. Howard had 3 catches for 33 yards. Waller had 3 catches for 24 yards. He has declined, Wallers. That's all I got to say. He has really declined. So when it really came down to it, Denver's offensive line is worse than Seattle's. Russell Wilson made a mistake about complaining about their offensive line. I think they were going to help Russell Wilson eventually at this point. They've heard his sorrows. They've heard Seattle's sorrows at this point. They knew how bad their offensive line was, and that's why they got together in the draft. Now, if the whole change of it was that he hated Pete Carroll was just trying to motivate the guy. So take that for granted at this point. And I take back everything I said about Pete Carroll in the first place when it came down to his my method right now of getting rid of your best quarterback that team's ever had in years. I'm not saying Geno Smith's better than Russell Wilson, But as of right now, he's playing like he is, and he's playing like he's Russell Wilson 2.0. Pete Carroll has revived this guy's career at this point. This is 4 weeks now that we've gotten of Geno Smith being good. And I thought for sure this was all a fluke here right now. Because I've already said on the show how I feel about Geno Smith. He's absolutely terrible. But in reality, when it really comes down to it, the Seahawks lost that second game because of the 49ers defense, not because of Garoppolo and Trey Lance combined. And really, they really lost the other game. I'm trying to think back at this right now. What was the second game? The second game was against. I gotta look this up now at this point because they were 1-2. They lost back to back. They lost to the Falcons because the Seahawks failed defensively to stop Marcus Mariota. So I don't put any of the blame here on really Pete Carroll in those first 2 losses. I don't. I put the blame squarely on the Seahawks even failing to stop that team, and really the offensive line playing as bad as they were, and they haven't had a bad game since. That offensive line here, Denver, they can't get their offensive line to do crap. That's all I really need to know in this game. Patriots are playing the Packers in Lambeau Field. This was possibly in the game of the year conversation, but not really. This was like maybe it's in the conversation, maybe it won't be in the conversation. This game will not be in the conversation. Aaron Rodgers opened the game crappy. First drive out for the Patriots. I think. Let me look at this for a minute. How this started out right now at this point. Patriots started out with the ball. They had a 10-play, 56-yard drive. It looked promising at first for Brian Hoyer at this point. That Brian Hoyer could actually do this. He had a 70-yard pass play to Kendrick Bourne for a first down. They've connected with one another when his time in San Francisco, so they have a good chemistry. Kendrick Bourne and Brian Hoyer. So that's all you need. That's one thing right there. A few plays later after this, Brian Hoyer had a deep pass to Nelson Aguilar. He ran out of bounds for the first down there at the Green Bay 19-yard line. Got it for 27 yards. This was a Hoyer show here. Devontae Parker to Green Bay 19 for -1 yards. Incomplete pass to Hunter Henry. Hunter Henry just doing a little too strong, a little too much velocity there. He tried to one-hand it, but couldn't do it. Nick Foles was able to kick the 37-yard field goal at that point to make it 3-0 New England. Second play of the drive right now, after Rodgers threw it for 25 yards to Lazard. Threw it over to Dubes. Dubes did fumble the ball. Was recovered by Jack Jones, and not the only thing Jack Jones did in the game. It did lead to Hoyer getting concussed and getting sacked by Gray. Later on in the game, after the touchdown drive by Rodgers. I'm not sure what's going on with my phone at this point. It's going off right now, buzzing. Anyway, Washington gets a 15-yard run play right there, making 7-3. Later on, pick 6 by Jack Jones, returns it back 40 yards, makes it 10-7. That's the end of the half at this point. Rodgers in the game overall, open up the half right now, 4 for 11 for 44 yards and 11.2 quarterback rating. The worst quarterback rating in the first half by any quarterback this season. Anyway, I'm sorry about that. I got a little delay here, but I glitched my phone at this point, looking at the score. And at this point, like every time I take my phone away from the freaking feed here, it just does this. So my phone feed is showing up on the ESPN thing because I'm not seeing myself on camera when I'm recording this on the video here at this point. Packers opened up the second half with a touchdown drive, 10 plays, 81 yards. Rodgers was being back to being Rodgers again. They went for it on fourth down. At one point, got it out to the 11-yard line. They went for a 17-yard run there. Later on, Aaron Jones was able to Robert Toney got a 20-yard touchdown pass. And Aaron Jones was pushed out of bounds. There was a penalty that brought it back for Bacardi, but Toney got the touchdown reception there, makes it 14-10. Zeppi was in the game at one point. They were able to get he was able to get some offense going right at this point. He was 10 for 15 for 100 yards and a touchdown. I'll show you that highlight in just a second here. Patriots able to capitalize with actually, I can show you right here because Devontae Parker got a 25-yard touchdown reception from Bailey Zappe. His first career touchdown as a NFL quarterback was tied up at 17. Later on in here in the game, Packers get a field goal right now. Patriots get another touchdown right now. It was Damian Harris from 5 yards out. Harris in the game had 18 carries for 86 yards. Ramon Stevens had 14 carries for 66 yards. Harris got the one lone touchdown rushing in the game. Packers scored a touchdown here on a 5-minute drive. Rodgers went to Romeo Dobbs for a touchdown. Aaron Rodgers' 500th career touchdown in the NFL. Dubes gets his second career touchdown as a Green Bay Packer. It's now 24 all. Rodgers tried to air out the Dubes one more time for another touchdown, but just drops it incomplete. Still 24 all, and they are now going to overtime here right now at this point. And they had a chance here at the Packers punt right now. They got into the Patriot at near midfield. Darius Harris ran for 5 yards, then again got no gain. And Zepp threw an incomplete pass, but instead of going for a fourth down, they go for the punt here. And it sets up Mason Crosby to make the easiest field goal because at that point, it was Aaron Rodgers to Dobbs, to Cobb. Dillon gets a few runs in there. Lazard gets a 22-yard passing play at one point. And A.J. Dillon gets it up the middle again. At that point, this game was over. Okay, there was no other way of looking at it. Dubes to Lazard to Dillon to Jones, and now Crosby from 31 yards out. The kick is good. Rodgers in the game was 21 for 35, 252 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception as the Green Bay Packers escape Lambeau Field with the win going up to London. Now 3-1, 27-24. This was a doozy. This had me at the edge of my seat. I did pick Green Bay to win this game, though. So I'm happy I got to pick one. I'm not happy against my Patriots, though. Unfortunately, though, I am a little disappointed about that. I just thought realistically the Patriots had no shot of winning this game. I thought this game was going to be a blowout. I thought Brian Hoyer was going to suck in this game. He started out decently until he got concussed here. And it changed the whole thing because I didn't think it was going to be a blowout anymore when Zepp was going to be in the game. Zepp was going to finally prove of why he was good. The problem is, though, is that Bill Belichick doesn't believe it. I don't know if this guy doesn't watch any Western Kentucky stuff right now at this point. When he drafted this guy, he just drafted him out of the blue. He probably didn't know anything about Zappietto in the first place. Probably had no idea what he served for them. And just was in panic mode because they didn't know what to do. You prepped all week for this. Hell, you had this kid even practice all week. And you didn't know what to expect here, so you played scared here? Like you didn't want to beat this team? I just thought that was strange. And I thought in reality, though, when you're in Green Bay territory, your defense can work on short field advantages here and stop him. Instead of these long drives and try to stop him in the red. Because you know how hard it is to pin the team deeper and deeper and deeper when you got a great quarterback like Aaron Rodgers. It's really hard to do. But in a short field right now, it's all right. Here it's simple. Here we can play red zone defense here because in overtime you kind of do play that because you don't want them to cross into your territory because it's over at that point. Because all they had to do is kick a field goal. Now if they had the first possession, they needed to score a touchdown there. But in that regard, I just can't imagine at this point now going forward here of what the difference could have been at that point because you're looking at this now. Like I look at everything else here, that Patriot defense was tired. They got the first stop there. That's all they could do. I think Bill knew that. I think Bill could have planned that out a little bit better. Maybe pin them deeper here, maybe. I don't know. Because when the drive started out, it started out from their own 10-yard line. You could have pinned them at the 1, and you could have forced a safety game over. Rodgers' game was already getting sacked enough as it was. So, I mean, to me, all in all, because Rodgers got sacked once in this game, but you could have forced a lot of pressure on him at that point. Now, in that regard, you're giving Rodgers good field position there, fine. But your defense did kind of shut it down early in the first half. You forced this guy to have 44 yards passing at home, the worst he's ever had in the first half at home at any point of his career. And it's sad because I don't think this team's going to get any credit for this game. They lost the game. And when you think about it, really, it was a Patriots defense ability to get tired. Judon was the only one who got the sack in the game, by the way, the lone sack in the game. So he did his usual. You know what I mean? He did his usual thing. So not much to the chagrin of this whole thing. Bourne at one point had one rush for 15 yards in this game. Aguilar had 3 catches for 46 yards. Parker had 2 catches for 24 yards. And Kendrick Bourne had 2 catches for 23 yards in the game. Bentley was great. Phillips was great, but it looked like he was playing hurt for most of it. Jack Jones was awesome in this game. And Matt Juna was great in this game. The rest of it was meh. For this game. Barrymore didn't do much. Wise Jr. didn't do much in this game. Peppers and Davis, they didn't do much in this game at all. But this was a game overall where I'm confident in this Zepp kid. I am. And he posted up looked like the posted up the worst quarterback rating in the league. Why? He's a relief guy. Looked like he didn't know the playbook that much. Didn't want to give him too much in the game plan because maybe they don't trust him. Maybe they think he's just going to be a backup for the rest of his career. I don't know. But I've watched the kid's highlights. And that Zepp kid can do a hell of a lot more than what they had him do yesterday. And I don't know if they just want to pull an Aaron Rodgers over our eyes right now at this point and just make Zepp the next Aaron Rodgers here with a deadly running back combo of, Damon Harris and Ramon Stevenson here. But to me, it looked like that's what they were trying to do here with Jones and all that through all the times there. But I think realistically, you could argue right now, this Zepp kid's got a lot more in the tank. He's got a good arm. He threw a nice fluid pass, 25 yards off of Devontae Parker. By the way, his first touchdown all season. And my takeaway in the whole thing of it is they didn't want to give Zepp the win. They didn't trust him. And I think realistically, you should really think about trusting this kid more because he's going to be a starting quarterback going forward because Hoyer's going to be out. Okay? They don't want another Tua case here, so they're going to keep Tua out for week 5. Do the same thing for Brian Hoyer. You're playing the Lions. They suck now. In reality, they were frauds from the beginning. That's it. That's all. Period. Just being realistic here. Just being realistic here in this case when it comes to really the Detroit Lions. And Brian Hoyer may get traded to the Detroit Lions. That's how I look at it at this point. And you might get a quarterback out. Honestly, at this point, I think they should trade him and see what the hell happens. Go like, oh, you couldn't play in this game? Oh, we're going to trade you. Granted, Jared Goff's not going to be injured here, and Hoyer's going to come in relief here, which that would be a hell of a story if that was the case, if Hoyer were to get traded. But I don't know. I just don't believe in that team at all, Detroit. I still believe in New England a little bit. Do I think they're a playoff team? It's hard to say. It really is hard to say at this point. The Jets are fraud, so they'll lose next week. Yeah, I mean, that's really pretty much it at this point. They can't go 1-4, though. Because then that's when I wave the white flag and say we're done. If we can't beat Detroit, who the hell can we beat? You know? That's even with Mac Jones or Zepp at quarterback. It doesn't really matter. If that really does happen, especially with Mac Jones, you bench Jones for Zepp. Because Zepp did good in relief. And I think realistically here, they showed a little bit more confidence here. They didn't think that overall the offensive line was good enough to protect on a 4th down play. But you still take that risk. Because at that point, all the defense has got to do is treat the midfield like it's a 4. They're at the 4-yard line, and in the mid zone, the thing's a touchdown. And you keep pressuring Rodgers. The Patriots defense here did not fall for the offsides penalty, though. I will say that, though. And Bill Belichick kind of outcoached Packers here by calling a timeout before, he did his usual shtick with the 12-man on the field shtick thing. You're not going to see Bill Belichick risk a lot of timeouts to do that. You're not. And this really came down to the game plan right now of one-upsmanship between Bill Belichick and Aaron Rodgers. And I love that. I thought that was incredible. Main event time, primetime football for Sunday Night Football. Kansas City Chiefs at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. This was a Patrick Mahomes show here in this game. Got right out of the gate here. Rashad White got the kickoff return fumble. Kansas City ball. Kansas City is at that point at the Tampa Bay 21-yard line. So all they needed there was 2 plays. Clyde Edwards-Helaire for 5 yards out. Travis Kelce gets a 16-yard touchdown pass. Chiefs are up 7-0 early. Later on, Tampa Bay gets the ball back. They start off on their own 28-yard line. Fournette runs it for 3 yards. Fournette gets a 25-yard pass play to Leonard Fournette down the left side of the field. They're at the Kansas City 44. 10-yard pass play to Cameron Brate for a first down. Fournette loses 4 yards on a running play. Brady once again at 10 yards to Chris Godwin for a third down there. Fournette tried to get a pass play to Brady there, but only got 1 yard out of it, so they settled for a field goal, 45 yards out. Succop kicks a field goal. It's good. It's now 7-3 Kansas City. Kansas City gets the ball at the 21 there at their Isaiah Paco, the rookie, returned it out there. Mahomes passing it over to Travis Kelce for 12 yards for a first down. 4 yards to McCall Harmon. 5 yards to Travis Kelce. 4 yards for Juju Smith in the first down there on a 3rd and 1. Mahomes is just being amazing here, just being Patrick Mahomes. Mahomes passing over short right there to Travis Kelce for 13 yards there. This is actually Mahomes did pull a Lamar Jackson. I didn't bring this up earlier about Lamar Jackson, but he escaped the sack here, pulling Eli Manning here, threw the ball up. The ball was deflected. It was caught by Duvernay there on that play. It was almost the same thing there when he tossed it over to Juju Smith here. This was a ridiculous game. That's all I got to say. This game was ridiculous from start to finish for Kansas City. Later on there, Edwards-Helaire runs it up for 20 yards there on a 3rd and 1, gets the first down. Schmaldi on the tackle. Mahomes runs it for 9 yards there. Logan Ryan gets a tackle there. Edwards-Helaire one more time, 3 yards out, touchdown to Kansas City. Chiefs are up 14-3. Bucs had to go 3 and out here. The Chiefs get the ball right back. 11 plays, 82 yards down the field later on, almost in 6 minutes here. Go down here. Mahomes scrambles up the middle for 7 yards there, gets a 3rd down and 2 conversion. They're now at the 48. Mahomes, 36 yards on Marquez Valdez-Scantling, gets it down to Tampa Bay 16-yard line. Later on there, Mahomes, ridiculous pass there, avoids being sacked here, avoids being tackled, throws it up there, like pulls a Brett Favre over the shoulder. Not really much of a jump pass here, but just close enough to that right now. Touchdown, Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Chiefs are up 21-3. Later on, the Buccaneers get the ball right back. They drive it down 75 yards. 11 yards to Rashard White. Mike Evans has a 30-yard pass right now. Gets it down to the Kansas City 34. 11 yards to Cameron Brate for a first down there. Brady, once again, Rashard White again. Push him out of bounds. Gets 10 yards there. Gets good enough for the first down. And Brady finishing off with Mike Evans for 13 yards out. Makes it 21-10. And the Buccaneers are trying to come back here. Chiefs were starting out another drive right now. Edwards-Helaire for 7 yards. Mahomes again. Those are for 6 yards a couple plays later to Travis Kelce for the first down. Edwards-Helaire gets a 3-yard run there, but tackled by Carl Nassib. That's penalized for a personal foul, horse collar penalty. Later on, Isaiah Paco gets it up to the middle for 9 yards, followed by another play there by McKinnon, and Paco couldn't get the conversion there. Mahomes just off of Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Looked like it was good enough for a touchdown. There was nobody else around, but he drops the ball sort of, but it was a little bit overthrown, a little bit off. Mahomes put a little too much velocity on it. Turnover on downs. Tampa Bay gets the ball right back. First play, Tom Brady gets sacked, fumble, ball is smacked out. Was forced out by Snead, recovered by Chris Jones for Kansas City, and they are at the Tampa Bay 20-yard line. 6 plays into the drive. 1 play out. Noah Gray takes the snap here. Mahomes is in the backfield. They just pull a Philly special. Only was really just basically a weird pistol formation right now where Noah Gray steps up right there. Mahomes is trying to change the play in the line, but Noah Gray takes the snap. 1 yard out. That's a touchdown run. And that's after Mahomes basically a bunch of running plays here. 1 pass play by McKinnon. But that was really about it in that drive there. 28-10. Chiefs are up. Buccaneers before the end of the half. Gets it down to the field one more time. Brady again, just being Brady. 2-minute drill here. 8 yards to Godwin. 2 yards to Brate. 9 yards for Brate. Fournette gets a run right now. Penalty on Tampa Bay. 2 many men on the field at that point for Tampa Bay. Forcing back 5 yards. Pass play to Julio Jones. Julio Jones all night long only had 2 catches for 7 yards. Brady's short pass to Godwin for 12 yards for a first. Brady passed to Leonard Fournette. Reed was injured on the play. His return was questionable. Later on, Brady, 16 yards to Mike Evans. pass to Thornhill, 15-yard penalty on a defensive pass interference was at the 1. One more time, Brady to Evans, his second touchdown of the night. Makes it 28-17, and that is how the first half comes to an end because Nassau gets a sack on Patrick Mahomes before the end of the half. Mahomes was sacked 3 times in the game overall. Brady was sacked only once in the game. Mike Evans overall had 8 catches for 103 yards and 2 touchdowns in the game. Second half here, game opens up wildly here for Kansas City. They get the ball right back. They get a field goal. Tampa had to go for a punt. Next possession for Kansas City, 10-yard pass to Jody Foster, his touchdown. Mahomes' second touchdown pass of the night. It's now, or I believe this would be his third night of the night, I believe. Excuse me. His third of the night for Jody Foster. Buccaneers respond later on with a touchdown drive of their own. Rashard White gets a 1-yard run. But before that, though, Brady has some passes right now. 2 yards to Godwin, 6 yards to the Oten. Mike Evans on a 15-yard play to Mike Evans. The love was shared at this point. This was unnecessary roughness on Thornhill at that point. They were able to drive it up. Rashad White got to the 1 and got the touchdown out of that play. Kansas City got a field goal there, made it 41-24. Later on, Sean Murphy-Bunting makes his first appearance as a Tampa Bay Buccaneer, picks off Patrick Mahomes. It sets up a touchdown drive. 5 yards out to Leonard Fournette for a touchdown there. Brady was 39 for 52, 385 yards, 3 touchdowns. No interception, was sacked 1 time in the game. Tampa Bay losing at home for second straight week to Kansas City. 41-31 is your final. Chiefs are now 3-1. Tampa Bay drops to 2-2. Kansas City next week will be playing, I believe, on Monday Night Football against the Raiders, while the Tampa Bay Buccaneers stay at home to take on the Atlanta Falcons. All you need to know about this game, and I'm just being realistic here, this was a gunslinger Tom Brady firing all his bullets of what he could in this game, exposing Kansas City's defense. I think both defenses got exposed in this game on a very two sides of the ball. Kansas City overall as a team had 37 carries for 189 yards. They could not stop the run in this game. I was stunned that they could not stop the run in this game with Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Isaiah Paco. This was a game that they could not slow down the run. It was weird. It just did not seem like a Tampa Bay Buccaneer defense that we know at this point and love, because they've been known to stop the run. They allowed 249 yards passing here. Tampa Bay did get some sacks in the game on Mahomes. Sorry, I was drawing a blank here. Nassau got a sack. Anthony Nelson got a sack. And I believe Mike Edwards got a sack on a blitz, on a safety blitz, all-out safety blitz, I believe it was on that play. I think that, and I think this might be an issue for Tom Brady right now, but just his handling skills have been an issue. It was the ring finger was sprained. That's still hurting and swelling. But it's not even this now at this point, because you can't even use the ring finger here as an excuse, because this is now 2 fumbles in the last 2 to 4 weeks that Brady has had that has come out of that right hand. And I don't know if it's just carpal tunnel from the thumb or what it is of him. He can't grip it on his fingers. If it's all over his fingers at this point, he can't make a fist, but it hurts. Carpal tunnel is not easy to have. I have a little bit of carpal tunnel right now in both my hands. So it hurts sometimes to grip some things. I mean, it hurts sometimes when you even grip a ball. I mean, I have trouble half the time catching a football half the time. It's not easy. I mean, I don't know if he's got arthritis in the wrist, maybe. I don't know. But the way he lost that football against L'Jarius Sneed, and I don't think Sneed even hit him that hard or even hit the ball that hard out of his hand. I think it's just a fact that Brady is losing that hand altogether. Now, there's no excuse for that. I'm not going to blame Brady for this loss here. I kind of blame, though, if I had to be realistic here, that offensive line not doing a good enough job to protect him, and the defense of not stopping the run. They were able to neutralize Mahomes a little bit, but he was still beating Patrick Mahomes. He was sacked 3 times in the game. He should have been sacked 7 times in the game the way he was playing that game last night. Or not last night, Sunday night, sorry. And I keep making that mistake. But I think realistically, Tom Brady has got some carpal tunnel in that thumb. And I don't know what the hell it is. I don't know why it's like that. It's just, at this point, it is what it is. Look, I mean, again, it's tough to hear stuff like this, but it just, you hear stuff like this, about Brady, and you don't want to admit it to yourself. And I'm a Brady fan. I hate seeing it. But Brady at this point is falling off a cliff. That's it. He'll get the wins against the bad opponents. He'll get the big wins once in a while. But as far as Brady chasing those glory days at this point and trying to go to the Super Bowl at this point may come into question. He had his best game last night. He did throw for 3 touchdowns. But as far as him gripping the ball goes, it's tough to say because I just can't see realistically him doing it. So I don't know. We'll see what happens now going forward here. I think this team's in trouble. As far as him going right now, because that ring finger has got to be looked at again on that left hand. But at the same time, they may want to look at the right thumb. I would say look at the middle finger and the ring finger because that's where the gripping point is. The index finger to me, I don't think is that much of an issue here at this point because when that hand was slapped out, he hit the middle and the ring finger. Those are 2 crucial things I believe that help you grip a ball. If you grip a ball like this, it's tough. I mean, I don't think that's not really possible to grip a football like that. But if Brady's trying to get the ball knocked out of his hands, you either got to grab it like this at this point, hold on to it, tuck to it, or something or just take the sack. Just take a drip. Just take a dip here. I don't know. His blind side is well whacked out. Donovan Smith being gone doesn't help. So, I mean, it's not easy. It's not easy for the GOAT at this point. And it's not easy for me to even admit this, but the GOAT is not going to be the GOAT for long. So, that's my whole takeaway on this whole thing. LA Rams taking on the San Francisco 49ers. Bobby Wagner knocked out a trespasser in the game. He was blowing some pink smoke, and Wagner just decked the hell out of him. Jeff Wilson opened the game over a 32-yard run at this point after the Rams kicked the field goal, making it 7-3. Rams kicked another field goal. Deebo Samuel gets a catch, breaks 5 or 6 tackles. He goes in untouched. 57 yards from Jimmy Garoppolo for a touchdown. It's now 14-6. A couple more field goals later on there. It's 17-9. Matt Stafford drops back, and he throws a pick six to the rookie Taluna Hafunga. 52 yards, pick six return. 4 yards to pick up the win, 24-9. The 49ers are now 2-2, and the Rams are 2-2. Stafford was 32 for 48, 254 yards in the interception. Garoppolo was 16 for 27 for 239 and 1 touchdown. Wilson had 18 carries for 74 yards and a touchdown, and Deebo Samuel had 6 catches for 115 yards and a touchdown for the 49ers. For the Rams, Cooper Kupp was just amazing. 14 catches for 122 yards. He's helping out a lot of fantasy owners. Unfortunately, the Rams defense failed in fantasy this week. I think they only scored 6 points in their defense here. They were not good at all in this game. And it's tough to admit this, but I don't think the Rams are that good this year. I got to be honest. If they win their division, it looks like they're going to be a one-and-done team. I just don't think realistically they have what it takes to win most of the games right now at this point. They were in trouble after week 1. There was no question about it. This was just not like a week 1 horrible loss and they'll get over it here. Like, they just played really questionable football these last 4 weeks. And I don't think realistically Dallas will fix it. I even if you have Cooper Rush in this game, like their offensive line has found a way to do an excellent job protecting their quarterback here. And Dak Prescott, look, in reality, Dak Prescott here will probably air it out deep here. He'll get his return. He'll get pumped up. That Cowboy team will be fired up right now to go against that Rams defense. Their defense is not that good anyways. If I had to put my money on it, I'd say the Cowboys offense wins next week because I think realistically the Rams defense has got something mechanically wrong with them. And I think now going forward, we're going to have a lot of questions now going forward on where this team goes from here because they're in trouble right now at this point. As crazy as it sounds, they are in trouble. They have Tampa Bay later on in the year in Tampa Bay. They have Kansas City later on in the year, and they're at Green Bay later on in the year. All tough road games. And Matthew Stafford at this point is going to get exposed against Tom Brady because Tom Brady, even with a messed up thumb, can have a better game than what Stafford had last night. It was not a good game last night on Monday Night Football. It just wasn't. In fact, you could argue right now that this may be the turning point of the whole season right now for the Rams. Because I'm looking at this Rams team right now, and I'm smelling 5 or 6 more losses at best. And it's tough to swallow that bitter pill, but they could be a 9-8 team this year too. It's not looking promising for them. So, I mean, I'm looking at it right now. Maybe it'll be like what? 2 or 3 teams coming out of the NFC East, maybe just 2, you know, and maybe, I mean, I don't know. Like it's tough to say. It really is tough to say. We need another couple of weeks right now for the rest of the teams, but for the Rams, it's not looking promising for them. You got to play Denver. I think it could be on Christmas Day. That I do believe. If you're at home against them, it gets to that point where Denver's at the struggling point. Who fixes themselves? The Rams could do it better than they could because they got a lot of injury issues. Denver, LA. I don't know what their excuse is. It's just basically a Superman team at this point that's overrated at this point, and their overall at 200, and their overall is not really at 200. So they try to do the 200 mark, and they just can't do it. So to me, they're just a Superman team at this point that is just aging. That's what it comes down to with Aaron Donald, when it comes down to Bobby Wagner, and honestly, when it really comes down to Jalen Ramsey. It just wasn't a good night last night for either of those 3 last night. So they just couldn't pressure Jimmy Garoppolo as much. Their offensive line knew how to figure out how to neutralize Aaron Donald. They knew how to neutralize Bobby Wagner and Ramsey. It really was that simple. So that's it. There you go. Going to call it like it is at this point. I'm going to try to get some audio right now. There was some news about Terry Bradshaw, who announced his health issues over the weekend here at this point. I want to be able to play that now. If I could just get the if I can just pull it up here right now at this point. So this is what he had came up with the other day.
Can't get intimidated by the Patriots. I think the thing about this this Jets team, they have a defense that can walk in and play the Patriots and not be intimidated at all. That's all you got. You got something? No. What about the team that's playing today, Philadelphia? No. What about that team? Did you fall asleep while he was talking? No. I will admit I got a little confused. He was intimidated. I was. I don't really, you know what, America, I don't know what's going on today, but I do, and I don't know what's going on in Philadelphia.
Terry's time. Terry Bradshaw's highlights sparked health concerns among fans. Hall of Fame quarter.
All right, so that's not the audio clip there, but this is what he.
This year,
this is a
Prime
different clip
members
here.
get
If I can
holiday
actually get
deals
to it.
before anyone else,
Oh.
which means you're kind of a big deal. The Prime Early Access
Fortunately,
sale
there's
on
an
October 11th and
advertisement.
12th, only for Prime
We're
members.
gonna get through Amazon here. You're not gonna.
Types of cancer in the past year. The Hall of Fame quarterback said he was diagnosed with bladder cancer last November and had successful treatment, including surgery. And earlier this year, he was treated for a rare skin cancer tumor in his neck.
MD Anderson in Houston. Folks, I may not look like my old self, but I feel like my old self. I'm cancer-free. I'm feeling great. And over time, I'm going to be back to where I normally am. So I appreciate your prayers and your concern. All right, we love you, brother.
The 74-year-old Bradshaw said he wanted to address his health.
So he revealed that he had at the time had a bladder cancer and he had his skin cancer, and he's both cancer free from that one. So he revealed the double cancer fight, and he was able to win at this point. But he's struggling. It's not easy at this point. It was really hard for him to even admit this. I mean, he's a tough dude. He really is. It was the I do have a better clip of him like revealing both of the. So here was the. I mean, I think. Hold on. Can I get the announcement right here? Are they going to give me the? No, they're not going to give me that one either. Okay. So that was that. I think that was really about it. Really for the. I guess Fox is not going to release their information. I guess. So this is what we're going to clip of Bill Belichick here.
I'd say in the end, Rodgers is just too good. He made some throws that only Rodgers can make. We had pretty good coverage on some of those, and he just, he's just too smart, too good, too accurate.
That was Bill Belichick in a 25-second clip there with how he approached that whole situation. That was Bill Belichick here announcing that one. There was another, I think that we got a J.J. Watt post game. We had the Bill Belichick post game. How about Matt Rule's post game? Actually, how about the Vikings and this is Paul Allen on the I think this is this the
They don't want you to know this.
no, I guess that's
Guys, this insurance company auto is the real deal. It's legit.
Field. Get ready for some crossers. You're getting man-to-man. Four-man rushing.
So that was the let's go into the we had a lot of advertisements here today on the show. I apologize. I don't know what is going on today with the audio here. Apparently it's not loading up for whatever reason on this freaking thing. Jesus. Oh, here it is. Here we go.
Good hole. Lets his kick all the way. Oh, and it is off the uprights. Double doink. And it is over in London.
So that was the double doink that happened in London. And that's really all the audio clips that I have right now for you today. That's the all entertainment that you're going to read from the NFL. Let's see. As far as any other sport goes, like I said before, hockey was on last night. There were some baseball games that were on last night. Not much else to talk about from the baseball perspective last night, but Red Sox did get a win last night. The Padres got a win last night. The Royals got a win last night. Pirates beat the Cardinals last night. Blue Jays beat the Orioles last night. Yankees beat the Raiders last night. Phillies beat the Astros last night. White Sox beat the Twins last night. Athletics beat the Angels last night. A walk-off in the 10th inning. But as of now, as official right now, the Atlanta Braves kind of looks like now they're going to win the NL East after all the Mets done all year to lead the division. And officially, they did get the win over the week. They did clinch the playoff, but they've not clinched the division officially yet. So they're only a game and a half back. The Mets are, but the Mets were in a rainout last night. The Red Sox taking a win last night. That's really about it. That's all really that is needing to be known. Week 5 starting Thursday. Shaq Leonard is out for the Colts. That is one of the news that I have there as far as what Shaq Leonard is going is concerned. But yeah, Shaq Leonard is out with a concussion. He got concussed in the game against the Titans. Kenny Pickett is expected to start over Mitchell Trubisky versus Buffalo. Some other sports right now. There's some other stuff right now I need to get into. Traylon Brooks got carted off. He was diagnosed with a turf toe. He's going to miss some time. Javonte Williams got a torn ACL. He is done for the year. Other than that, there's really not much else football news to get on the brunt of this, but I will get out of the other stuff. I know I wasn't going to talk about other sports here, but I might as well get this out of the way. Tony La Russa, due to his health issue, is not going to come back to manage. He's going to go back into retirement due to his health issues. Kyrie Irving's trade rumors. Lakers submitted concept of the Nets free agency. He contacted him multiple times with multiple deals. I guess Kyrie Irving did not want to become an LA Laker, so he basically just fooled LeBron. And last night, Albert Pujols, even though the Cardinals lost last night 3-2, the St. Louis Cardinals first baseman Albert Pujols, the legendary Albert Pujols, came the second person in Major League Baseball history in RBIs with a go-ahead homer to get number 703 to pass Babe Ruth, and it passed him in second most in RBIs in Major League Baseball history. So that happened last night, and that's really about it. That's all I really need to know here. And Joe Burrow has announced a foundation that will help Ohio and Louisiana families to overcome food insecurity and child mental health issues. So good for Burrow. The Joe Burrow Foundation is now born in Cincinnati. That was announced just 3 minutes ago through the Bengal Wire. So good for Joe Burrow. I'm glad he's doing that. You don't hear a lot of that very often from quarterbacks like that. But the games that are coming out next week. So let's move on to that right now. And I'm just going to – can I just get this to go up? Yep, here we go. So here we go. Next week, Colts are at the Broncos. Giants are in the Packers in London on Sunday. Colts Broncos are on Thursday night at 8:15 in Prime Video. The Giants Packers are on at 9:30 on Sunday at London on the NFL Network. Steelers are at the Buffalo Bills in Buffalo. Detroit Lions go to New England to face out the New England Patriots. Atlanta Falcons taking on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in Tampa Bay. Cincinnati Bengals are playing the Ravens on Sunday Night Football. Chargers are at the Browns. Bears are at the Vikings. Seahawks are at the Saints on 1 o'clock games. Dolphins at the Jets. Titans at the Commanders. Texans at the Jaguars. 49ers at the Panthers at 4:05. 4:25 is Cowboys Rams. And the Eagles and the Cardinals are at 4:25 in Arizona. Once again, the Sunday night recap here. Bengals are at the Ravens on Sunday Night Football. Monday Night Football is the Las Vegas Raiders taking on the Kansas City Chiefs. Buffalo Bills right now are labeled as a 14-point favorite against the Pittsburgh Steelers at home. I'm telling you right now, Kenny Pickett is not going to like this game. This is going to be a nightmare game for him. He's not going to like this defense overall. I would not be surprised in this game alone if the Pittsburgh Steelers didn't score at all, if they were shut out. That would not surprise me. And I think realistically now you could argue right now that Buffalo will have a big game this week against the Pittsburgh Steelers. I expect them to blow them out by at least more than 14 points, probably by 30 or 40. That's what I'm expecting here. Bengals Ravens next week. Baltimore is a 3-point favorite. Cincinnati is a tough team. They're finding themselves now at this point. This foundation's going good. Cincinnati is doing good right now. They just got a huge win over the undefeated Miami Dolphins at the time and took out Tua in the process, ending his MVP type of year. So that will be an interesting matchup right now. And I think it's a question right now of Lamar Jackson trust factor here. It's going to be John Harbaugh and Lamar Jackson taking on Joe Burrow and Zach Taylor. It's really the battle of the coach and quarterback tandem in this game here. So that will be a very interesting game going forward. Really all you need to know right now is, will Ritter start, or they're going to stick with Marcus Mariota right now for the Atlanta Falcons as they take on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers defense. And is Tampa Bay all washed up? Is Brady all washed up? That's the question. Cordell Patterson is on injured reserve. He had a knee injury, so he's going to be out for the next 4 weeks. It is unfortunate, but at this point, it's up in the air now at this point what Atlanta does from here. So, I mean, we'll see now going forward. And this is breaking news that just broke out just now, so I'm just right before I'm leaving the show here. I'm going to get this out here. Former NFL running back LeGarrette Blount apologized for his role in an incident which Arizona police are investigating. Apparently, LeGarrette Blount was involved in a youth football game fight in Arizona. This fight broke out at a youth football game last Saturday. And according to a report from USA Today, former NFL running back LeGarrette Blount was involved in the incident. It happened around 7 p.m. at Gilbert Police Department, responding to a Williamsfield High School fight, receiving calls about adults fighting during a youth football game. When the authorities arrived on the scene, the game had already concluded. Blount was serving as one of the coaches in the game, and there was no injuries to report during the altercation. So, yeah, LeGarrette Blount got into a fight. That's unfortunate. And we're getting some more breaking news. I think this is an article that just posted out just now, so I might as well get this out of the way. This might be a 2-hour episode, the way this is going right now at this point. This is according to the Athlon Sports. Coaching legend Tony Dungy is unhappy with the NFL this week. The NFL concussion protocol has come to under scrutiny since Tua Tagovailoa's terrifying injury. On Sunday night, the league failed to protocol for head injuries manifested itself. Bucs tight end Cameron Brate collided when one of his teammates got up and ran off the field under his own power and came back into play later on. He's since been diagnosed with a concussion. Dungy went on Twitter and said, "Broken system. I was on the sideline very close to Brate. Obvious. He had his bell rung. There was a league-appointed spotter in the press box who should stop play and alert the referee. Brate shouldn't have been allowed to return until after an evaluation. Why didn't that happen?" So Dungy was really unhappy about this situation. I got to look at it like this from this perspective. He is right. There is no excuse to why this is happening to these players. I don't understand why these players are getting hurt here. It makes absolutely no freaking sense if you ask me at this point. Does the league not care about this at all? I mean, there's a lot of issues at this point. The NFL's under scrutiny now because of this whole situation right now with Tua. And I just look at this and I just don't understand why this is happening. Like, why is this even a theory at this point? And, it just, to me, like, it's so sad because we're all looking at this now like it just, like, is this really happening? Like, is this truly happening now going forward again? Are we going to go through, is this now going to be called the break gate now, this coin? Or the Dungy called out the NFL gate? I look at it like this. And I just think now at this point that this is definitely on Roger Goodell now at this point anyway. It's all about player safety. It's all about confronting the issues. Like, you're the commissioner in this league. You have more power over head coaches, over the press box people, over what goes on in your league with the NFLPA and stuff like this. And even the NFLPA has all the power here. They both share the power. So it's not like that this is a situation to where neither one of them has the power here. They do. They just don't have the power over the owners. Now, if the NFLPA should go after the NFL owners, I think they have every right to do that now at this point anyway. If they can't force the system here, if the owners just can't listen to commissioners here at this point, because really it's all about commissioner. And here's how the owner goes. It's the owners and the commissioners, the coaches and the players. That who has the power in these things. And even if you want to put owners and executives in this whole thing, they're kind of the same thing, fine. But think about this for a minute. You have an NFL, if you are an NFL owner and you're watching your player get concussed like that, knowing how bad concussions are, knowing the science behind it, knowing the CTE situations, knowing how bad the NFL wants to stop the CTE altogether. It's not the no fun league. It's the protect league at this point. I'm starting to get the realization now at this point. Anyway, these guys do not need to get crunched like this. It's ridiculous. And they're allowing these guys to get back in the game. Cameron Brate should be out this weekend against the Buccaneers, but we'll see what happens. Or against the Falcons. I'm sorry, not against the Buccaneers. But you get my point. And this is a broken system. He's absolutely right about this whole thing. I would not be surprised right now going forward if they decide to get Tony Dungy in there as like an NFL consultant for the commissioner and for the NFLPA. Because right now he's going to be a consultant. Because who's consulting this right now? It's certainly not DeMaurice Smith. It's certainly not all the other executives out there. And it's certainly not our great commissioner, our lovely commissioner, who, by the way, at this point has signed a deal where he's not basically out of it for another 5 years. So, and he could, and that contract can be broken. Every contract is not guaranteed, especially for the NFLPA. The only time it's guaranteed if it's a CBA, because they can't break that. Everybody else's contract, though, could come into question because there could be violations and there could be things where he could be signed off at this point. And here's how I look at it at this point. If Jeff Bezos owns the Washington Commanders and Dan Snyder is forced out here at this point, and this stuff keeps happening, Goodell's going to have that job for the rest of his life till he croaks. That's it. And I got to tell you right now at this point, it ain't a bad gig when you're making over $500 million a year. It's not. Not a bad gig at all if you're Roger Goodell. This is getting to the point now where this is ridiculous, though. This is getting to the point where it's absolutely ridiculous that we are just watching this play out the way it is. And Dungy's right. It is a broken system. This should be investigated, looked at, and the guy in the press box should be fired from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers if that happened. This is absolutely insane. And I think at this point, I mean, if I'm Tampa Bay, I'm pissed. If I'm Bruce Arians, I'm pissed. This could be Bruce Arians written all over it. You never know. This is how it could play out. Now going forward, and it's unfortunate that it had to come out the way it had to come out, but it sucks. It really does suck. At the end of the day, it is freaking brutal that this is even happening to this guy now at this point. We'll see what happens now going forward. But I just can't imagine, the NFL being, calling their responsibility for this, calling their bluff. They blew it here. And Cameron Brate came out later on in the game like that should have never had happened. I didn't think about it at first, but yeah. Anyway, I had another take here too about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers here that I didn't even get to here. Well, it was Sean Murphy-Bunting, who made his first return here at this point for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. No one has seen this guy in weeks. And he comes in on the last drive that Kansas City technically the second to last drive, where Mahomes threw that interception. And my first thought was Sean Murphy-Bunting got an interception here. By the way, didn't play all night. It was Dean, Carlton Davis, and somebody else who played in his place all night long. I don't know what the hell is going on with Sean Murphy-Bunting. I don't know if he was on the IR in the first half of the year. If he was, maybe I'm wrong here. But if he was off the IR here and playing like Michael Gallup was playing yesterday for the Dallas Cowboys, Why was he not on the football field? And here's my question. Jamal Dean, do you want him at safety or do you want him at defensive back? Because you can't have it both ways. Okay? Jamal Dean, in my opinion, at this point, is a great piece to that Tampa Bay Buccaneers defense. Without a shadow of a doubt. So is Mike Edwards. But where's Sean Murphy-Bunting here? Why is he not on the football field? Why is he, at this point in time, literally the last option at this point in the Tampa Bay Buccaneer defense in the secondary? I'm just curious. And I just look at that. I think to myself, he was on one play last night, and it just didn't make any sense. He didn't play all night. He was the best defensive player on here. If you want my honest opinion, if he has no place in his team, if he's letting me look at the bench now for a while, I would ask for a trade. Then that way they'll be like, oh, wait a minute, we don't want to lose you. They know they lose him, they're screwed, right? That's one of their best defensive back players they have in the game right now. Not Carlton Davis, if they gave a ridiculous 3-year contract to because nobody else wanted him. It's ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. And this guy's even still around. And you talk about how this is played out at this point, the way this whole thing is played out, it's a joke. It's an absolute joke. I just, I'm watching, and I'm watching this game, and I'm watching back the highlights right now, and I'm watching all the first 4 weeks. I'm thinking to myself, they really didn't need him in that first 2 to 3 game ratio, but a big time game against this team, they needed him more. They needed him more. Hell, you could have argued right now, Mahomes would have thrown, take away 80 yards of that passing yards he would have had last night, and force a little bit more pressure in there. You probably would have won the game. If you shut down the run, you probably would have won the game last night. Or not last night, Sunday night if you're Tampa Bay. But I'm just looking at this now from this perspective here. You blew the game if you're Tampa Bay. That whole game plan was terrible. Todd Bowles is a terrible coach for this team as far as I'm concerned. He's not a good coach. I put this all on him. Brian Leftwich as well is responsible for this whole thing as well, although Bowles is more responsible because he's not really listening to Brian Leftwich. If we're going to really be honest with ourselves now going forward, he's not. There's no other way of looking at it. He's not listening to him. It's that simple. And one thing about this to me that just sets the tone now going forward. It does set the tone that everyone needs to know at this point. Todd Bowles at this point should never been the head coach of this team in the first place. Bruce Arians should have never even been employed with the Buccaneers still on their staff as a GM. He's immature. He's a guy in the press box at this point that doesn't give a crap. He's trying to hurt the team from within because he knows Todd Bowles sucks as a head coach. He just does. The only reason why they all bow down to him now is because of this. They're just trying to end the whole racism conversation in the NFL. They're trying to end it. Even though everybody thinks that black coaches at this point, according to black players, that are not well liked. It's that simple. And that's just the reality of it. And I'm looking at this and I'm thinking in my head like, wow, this is actually a theory here. And the reality of it is that there are people out there that actually believe that that there's not enough black coaches in the league. Don't get me wrong. There are a lot of black coordinators who are sort of like the coaches that can help the other coach out. That's what they do. They're assistants at this point. And look, they don't get a lot of opportunities because they're bad-mouthed about it from the players and the media. And more is coming out now because they're just trying to prove their point. But the whole thing of it is, to me, is after last night, is they really should have gotten Sean Payton. They should have offered Sean Payton $100 million to coach this Buccaneer team. I'm sorry. They should have. Why didn't they do it? I have no idea. I mean, is it because this whole thing goes that Miami got to him first and because he didn't coach him now, the Dolphins talked to him, so we can't get to him at this point? They want to avoid a tampering thing? Who cares? At this point, it's hurting Tom Brady. The play calling makes no sense half the time. And last night, in that game, Sunday night, Brady had all the play calling in his game along with Brian Leftwich. You could tell from the word go how this game started. It was all about Tom Brady at this point. This wasn't an all-star game. This wasn't an exhibition. It was week 4 of the NFL season, a real legit game between two elite quarterbacks at their prime, one old gunslinger and one face of the franchise right now who's trying to take his place. That's what it really came down to in Tampa Bay. It was a revenge game for Kansas City, for Patrick Mahomes to go in that game and try to get a win in a stadium where he got blown out the last time he played. That's what it was. In that stadium, Super Bowl 55, where he lost 31-9, that's what that game came down to. It was all about that game that other night, and it was Brady 100%. You cannot tell me otherwise it wasn't. The fact that right now, at this point, the Buccaneers are in trouble at 2-2. And you have Sean Murphy Bunting. By the way, Topos, who praised this guy, praised him up and down. He hasn't played in 4 freaking weeks of football. What the hell happened? Did he piss somebody off? Or are they just trying to prove a point with Carlton Davis? Does Topos have a soft spot for Carlton Davis? Because guess what? He sucks. It was all Jamal Dean covering half the time. It was other guys on that defense that was covering half the time. Hell, Whitfield did better job at defensive back than this guy did. Why is this guy around? I want to know, because he serves absolutely no purpose whatsoever. He doesn't. He does not serve a purpose on this team. You have a perfectly great defensive back who is sitting on the bench, younger, faster, hungrier, and you have him sitting on the sidelines. And the big play he makes last night was his first play on the field all night long. How is this guy still on the bench? He was a starter. He was a key reason why your guys, other than Winfield and Jamal Dean and the rest of them, made the Buccaneers win that Super Bowl that year, other than Tom Brady, Antonio Brown, and Gronkowski. Now, Brady got the MVP. Did not deserve it, in my opinion. That's just my opinion of the whole thing. It was Winfield Jr., Sean Murphy Bunting, Jamal Dean, Mike Edwards, Devin White, Levante David. I'm drawing a blank here. Sue, Shaquille Barrett, the rest of them. That defense as a whole is completely not guys on that field. When Brady doesn't have his guys on the football field, he doesn't feel complete here. To me, he doesn't really need Gronk. He doesn't. You got Cameron Bray, you got Otto, you got Colt Keft, whatever the hell his name is. But that defense does not need a Carlton Davis on that field. He doesn't. He's not that good. He's not that great. He allows garbage catches. He allows too much crap to happen. And he's penalized so many times for pass interference penalties. I think he's got the most pass interference penalties out of anybody on that football team. Carl Nassib, a guy who's a horse collar special teams kind of guy, along with Anthony Nelson. They made some key plays last night on their first play on being that football field. Didn't get a lot of snaps on that football field Sunday night. That's just a reality at this point for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, is their defense doesn't know what the hell they're doing. They had an Ndamukong Suh. They could have re-signed him. They didn't want to re-sign him. Why? What is the big deal? You didn't give Tom Brady any more money at this point. He's playing for less money this year at his age, at 45 years old, dealing with the marriage problems. And here's another thing, too, I want to bring up at this point, and I just wanted to bring this up quickly before I get back to my rant on Sean Murphy Bunting. Who should get divorced first? Will Smith and his wife, or Giselle and Tom Brady? You're decide. You can answer that question all week long. Because at this point, it's bound to happen. One of these power couples are going to get divorced. Not saying Brady and Giselle are a power couple, although they kind of are. Not saying Will Smith and I can't think of his wife's name, but you get my point. I'm going to go back to Sean Murphy Bunting here. Why is this guy not on the football field? Why is Carlton Davis not on? Why is he on more plays here than Winfield, than Dean, than Edwards? Why is that the issue here? Why is Carlton Davis on this field? He serves no purpose. Sean Murphy Bunting, who I've watched every Tampa Bay Buccaneer game this year. I can't remember this guy seeing the football field once, except for Sunday night against the Chiefs. And the first play on there, he picks off Patrick Mahomes. I don't know what else to say here. It makes me infuriated that this guy is not on the football field. It infuriates me. That's all I got to say. It actually pisses me off that this guy is doing what he's doing at this point, sitting on the bench and watching Carlton Davis take his job. It's basically what's happening. You re-sign a guy that serves no purpose on your defense. He sucks. He's the most penalized guy on the team. He's got a lot. He can't handle. Every time he's going to cover somebody good, he just chokes. Overall, this was a bad defensive game plan last night. If their defensive game plan was not to, and think about this one, they used Sean Murphy Bunting and Antonio Winfield Jr. to double team Tyreek Hill in Super Bowl 55, right? They used Dean to double team the other tight end here with Mike Edwards Jr., I believe his name is, right? Or is it Mike Edwards? Right? I don't know if he's a junior or not. I don't remember. But you get my point. The whole thing of it is, to me, that really gets me, that really pisses me off the most here about this Buccaneer defense. And the same thing goes to this point now, anyways, for everybody else here who's in the conversation at this point. You use that game plan. They didn't double team any of these people once all night long. It was just one-on-one zone, one-on-one man-to-man, one-on-one. It was stupid. And you know this guy needs double team help. Why aren't you giving it to him? Because Todd Bowles has a soft spot for Carlton Davis more he does for Sean Murphy Bunting. And in reality, the reality of the fact of the matter is that he would choose anybody else on head staff right now to be the defensive head coach. Hell, Levante David should be the defensive head coach of this team because he knows at this point that Sean Murphy Bunting should have played last night. And there are people right now who are rejoicing right now at this point in the beginning for Todd Bowles. Now they're looking at it and they're questioning at every motive at this point of why this guy's head coaching this team. There's no reason for it. And in all seriousness right now at this point, I'm just going to be honest here at this point, they're better off with Jack Del Rio as the defensive coordinator. They are. Jack Del Rio has got no place on that Washington Commander roster. He doesn't. Hell, Jeff Bezos, who loves defensive football, has actually been praising it lately. Should be a defensive coordinator for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The guy's an Amazon Prime guy, but he loves defensive football. He loves it. He's happy about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He gets to see firsthand on Todd Bowles being a complete dunce. Because that's what he is. He's a dunce. He's a softie. That's why he's got not a lot of opportunities as a head coach in the league, because he's a softie. It's not because of a color of his skin. It's because he can't coach a football team to save his freaking life. Right now, he's 2-2 with Tom Brady. That's not good. That's terrible. The way this is going right now at this point. An absolutely pathetic excuse for coaching from Todd Bowles. Pathetic. Anyway, I'm done ranting there. Jamie Collins, by the way, got signed back by the Patriots as of yesterday. So his fourth stint in the NFL will start on Sunday against the Lions. So that's all you need to know. Okay? That's the last story of the day. My last rant of the day. I'm out. You know my social media. I already announced at the beginning of the show. If you need to rewind it in this episode where it may or may not get edited here, at this point, whatever. Saturday will be my picks. Brian Pelletier, my best friend, will be on this show possibly on Saturday. I will make the announcement otherwise whether or not he will be there or not. Michael Smith, as far as I know, I have no idea. I couldn't tell you. Because he was on the show last week. I don't know what his story is. I don't know if he's been MIA at this point. And I don't even know if he's really committed to doing this half the time. I don't know. It does infuriate me because, I mean, you know, I do come up with most of the stories here. I will get this out of the way right now. It's hard for this kid to come up with any story now and stick to it here. Half the time he posts this stuff on his Facebook, he never leads with it. So he did the opening intro and tried to sound funny with it, and he did introduce me. But I mean, other than that, like he's into it for the fun aspect of it. But when it comes to actually being serious with it, it's questionable. It is. I will admit to that. So Brian Pelletier tries to stay serious sometimes. He does get nervous, does get camera shy. I will admit that. It'll be tough for him to get on the show here with this. But I will have him on the show possibly this Saturday for a guest co-host commentary if it's possible. If not, who knows? But yeah, you know, the social media stuff like that, I announced at the beginning of the show. I'm not going to announce it again. So enjoy the rest of your week. I'll be here on Saturday. So far, Aaron Judge has not broken a home run record yet. If he does, I will be the first one on here to report it. So I'll come on any time this week. I might be on 2 days, might be on 3 days, might be on 4 days, might be on 5 days. I don't know. But for now, I am signing off here. This was a very long show. I was not planning to do 2 hours and 13 minutes of this show, so I apologize if I went too long. But enjoy the rest of your day, guys. I'm out.